sometimes the ground is not fertile and the sowing of seeds is unproductive. Similarly, sometimes a prospective father, being impelled by the potency of the Supreme Lord, can beget a child, but sometimes conception does not take place. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord.
Mm.
O King, both you and we, your advisors, wives, and ministers, as well as everything moving and not moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time, are in a temporary situation. Before our birth, this situation did not exist, and after our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false.
Very
The Supreme
important.
Personality of Godhead, the master and proprietor of everything, is certainly not interested in the temporary cosmic manifestation. Nonetheless, just as a boy at the beach creates something in which he is not interested, the Lord, keeping everything under his control, causes creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He creates by engaging a father to beget a son. He maintains by engaging a government or king to see to the public's welfare. And he annihilates through agents for killing, such as snakes. The agents for creation, maintenance, and annihilation have no independent potency. But because of the spell of the illusory energy, one thinks himself the creator, maintainer, and annihilator.
Mm.
As from one seed another seed is generated, O king, so from one body, the body of the father, through another body, the body of the mother, a third body is generated, the body of a son. As the elements of the material body are eternal, the living entity who appears through these material elements is also eternal.
Mm.
Divisions of generalization and specification, such as nationality, individuality, are the imaginations of persons who are not advanced in knowledge.
Mm.
Sri Shukdev Goswami continued, thus enlightened by the instructions of Narada and Angira, King Chitraketu became hopeful with knowledge. Wiping his shriveled face with his hand, the king began to speak. King Chitraketu said, you have both come here dressed like avadhutas, liberated persons, just to cover your identities. But I see that of all men, you are the most elevated in awareness. You know everything as it is. Therefore, you are the greatest of all great personalities. Brahmanas who are exalted to the position of Vaishnavas, the most dear servants of Krishna, sometimes dress like madmen, just to benefit materialists like us who are always attached to sense gratification, and just to dissipate our ignorance. These Vaishnavas wander on the surface of the globe according to their desire. O great souls, O great souls, I have heard that among the great and perfect persons wandering the surface of the earth to instruct knowledge to people covered by ignorance are Sanat Kumar, Narad, Ribhu, Angira, Devala, Asita, Apanta Ratama, Vyasadev, Markandeya, Gautama, Vasishta, Bhagavan Parashuram, Kapil, Sukadev, Durvasa, Yagnavalkya, Jatukarna, and Aruni. Others are Romasha, Shavana, Dattatreya, Asuri, Patanjali, the great sage Dhamya, who is like the head of the Vedas, the sage Panchashikha, Hiranyanabha, Kaushalya, Shrutadeva, and Ritadhvaja. You must certainly be among them.
Mm.
Because you are great personalities, you can give me real knowledge. I am as foolish as a village animal like a pig or dog. because I am merged in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, please ignite the torch of knowledge to save me. Angina said, my dear king, when you desired to have a son, I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Angira Rishi who gave you this son. As for this Rishi, he is the great sage Narada, the direct son of Lord Brahma. My dear king, you are an advanced devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. Therefore, we have both come to relieve you from this false lamentation, which is due to your being merged in the darkness of ignorance. For those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, to be affected by material loss and gain is not at all desirable.
mm,
When I first came to your home, I could have given you the supreme transcendental knowledge. But when I saw that your mind was absorbed in material things, I gave you only a son who caused you jubilation and lamentation. My dear king, now you are actually experiencing the misery of a person who has sons and daughters. O king, owner of the state of Shurasena, one's wife, his house, the opulence of his kingdom, and his various other opulences and objects of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. One's kingdom, military power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. They are like a Gandharva Nagar, a non existent palace that one imagines to exist in the forest. Because they are impermanent, they are no better than illusions, dreams, and mental concoctions. These visible objects like wife, children, and property are like dreams and mental concoctions. Actually, what we see has no permanent existence. It is sometimes seen and sometimes not. Only because of our past actions do we create such mental concoctions, and because of these concoctions, we perform further activities. The living entity in the bodily conception of life is absorbed in the body, which is a combination of the physical elements, the five senses for gathering knowledge, and the five senses of action along with the mind. Through the mind, the living entities suffer. To the mind, the living entities suffers the three kinds of tribulations: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. Therefore, this body is a source of all miseries.
mm. Okay. So here's the conclusion. So let us conclude. Okay. Please read.
Therefore, O King Chitraketu, carefully consider the position of the Atma. In other words, try to understand who you are, whether body, mind, or soul. Consider where you have come from, where you are going after giving up this body, and why you are under the control of material lamentation. Try to understand your real position in this way, and then you will be able to give up your unnecessary attachment. You will also be able to give up the belief that this material world or anything not directly in touch with service to Krishna is eternal. Thus, you will obtain peace.
Okay. So next Naradan is going to speak. But before that, since we already have full class, we will address the question which was raised yesterday. While talking about Varnashram system, why do we emphasize so much only on marriage and its ideal standard? No, it's a misconception. We are saying brahmachari should be all right. We are saying sannyasis should be all right. We are saying vanaprasthas should be all right. We are not saying that the brahmacharis can be loose. They can do whatever they want. They can have a grand gala time in brahmachari ashram. and not follow any principles. We are not saying all that. We have a very strict system for brahmacharis. We are saying that brahmachari means first he should come with some color. Sometimes they say yellow, sometimes white, then again white, and then the whole process to give saffron, and then to follow the brahmachari ashram rules and regulation, keep attendance. So, there's a whole system of how to maintain the standard in brahmachari ashram. So same way, sannyas ashram, there is sannyas ministry is there. There is a very tough process for giving sannyas. Like one senior devotee, when he was giving class a few weeks back, he was actually commenting that in ISKCON, taking sannyas is like an anticlimax, because you keep hearing for so many years that, oh, he is in list, he is moving, he's doing that, he's doing this, he's coming to this stage, he's coming to that stage. And finally, by the time he takes sannyas, people are already tired of hearing about his sannyas. So it's more or less like an anticlimax. So there's so much tough to take sannyas. And then once you take sannyas, then there is also so many rules and regulations which apply, and sannyas ministry are constantly checking. There is sadhu, guru, sannyasi, GBC, sangha, all these things happening to make sure that the sannyasis are maintaining their ashram properly and things like that. And then if some sannyasi falls down, then there is also some big hue and cry and some inquiry and all those things. So we are not emphasizing only on Grahastha ashram, and we are not running behind Grahasthas with AK-47, and then rest of all the ashrams are really having a nice time. Rather, the most unsupervised ashram is Grahastha ashram. That is the truth. It's not that that's the most supervised ashram. That's the most unsupervised ashram. Grahasthas are there, they're doing their own thing. They have some counseling meeting once in a week or once in 2 weeks, or some other bhakti rickshaw, or whatever system they follow, reading group or any group, that group, this group, Namahanta, whatever they follow, they come. And then most of what they do is voluntary disclosure. There is no mandatory disclosure. There is no attendance system that, okay, every day morning, are you getting up at home and doing Mangalarati? Can we have a video recording of your Mangalarati with a time stamp on it? We don't have all those things. So that is the most unsupervised ashram. So therefore, the first sentence is just a misconception. It's not a proper understanding. Okay, when we are talking about Varnashram system, we are in ISKCON. The actual tightest control is there in Brahmachari ashram, and it's there in Sannyas ashram. Grahasthas are having a long rope, and more or less, sometimes, there is also some sort of understanding, or, popular opinion that Grahasthas are all gone case, is given up case. If they chant a little bit and give some donation, it's okay. We should be happy with that. That's more or less some kind of attitude is there with both Grahasthas. Okay. So then Vanaprastha, almost non-existent. So when we talk about Varnashram in ISKCON, lot of emphasis is given for brahmacharis and sannyasis, not enough emphasis is given on Grahasthas. This is the fact. So to think that that Grahasthas are being chased with a machine gun is not actually correct. So that's the first point in this. Okay. But we do not emphasize about first 15 samskaras. We do not speak about the support system which an ideal marriage needs. Okay. Now, this is a good point. It's a really good point. So, if you actually see Satriya Saradipika and the way Satriya Saradipika is structured, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he starts with Vivaha Samskara. He does not start with Jata Karma, which is actually when the child is born. Rather, he starts with Vivaha Samskara, because this is when the family starts. So, to start emphasizing on other samskaras, first of all, you should emphasize on the Vivaha Samskara. So that's a natural thing. That's where everything starts. And then, if you actually read proper purports, you will find that Prabhupada spoke a lot about Garbhadana Samskara. There is wealth of information in Prabhupada's purport about Garbhadana Samskara and the importance of Garbhadana Samskara and why it should be done, what is the relevance of Garbhadana Samskara, because Prabhupada actually put a lot of emphasis on having the right type of children, because they are the ones who will take this movement in the future along with the new recruits who keep coming. So they are the generation. They can be trained from beginning. We find in Bhagavatam, Bala Kridana Kridan Krishna Kridam Yadate. Whenever there is a description of Parikshit Maharaj rising up, we find that. So there's a lot of emphasis which is given on Grahastha Ashram or the marriage samskara, which is natural. And also there are other samskaras which are spoken of. It's not that, nobody is speaking about other samskaras, just we are speaking only about marriage, and no other samskaras are being spoken of. No, whenever you find opportunity, you will find that there's a lot of emphasis on Garbhadana Samskara, which is the next most important samskara after the Vivaha Samskara. So why Prabhupada speaks so much about Garbhadana? Because the purpose of marriage is to have children. That's why Prabhupada speaks so much about Garbhadana. So you can actually go through the whole literature. You can find that Prabhupada has so many quotes on Garbhadana. Somebody can do a search and find out, okay, that how many times Prabhupada has spoken on Garbhadana. Now, regarding the other samskaras, a lot of awareness is coming nowadays about performance of other samskaras. There are many courses being conducted. Mayapur Academy itself is actually conducting course on how to perform different samskaras, and a lot of encouragement is being given to different devotees, especially grahasthas who are second initiated, to get trained to perform the different samskaras for the congregation or the grahastha devotees as per Satya Saradipika. There's a whole push which is there in that direction. And definitely that push needs to be more, and it needs to become more prominent. I completely agree with this point that more people should get trained, and more emphasis should be given on all the samskaras. But the Vivaha Samskara is the starting point, because when a man and woman come with right mentality and get together, then naturally they will be interested in doing the other samskaras, and naturally things will progress. So it's not such a bad thing to put the emphasis on Grahastha Samskara. Now, second is support system for ideal marriage. Yes, in some places it may be there, in some places it may not be there. It depends on where they are practicing and where they are managing their practice, etc. Actually, the support system for ideal marriage, how it is going to come, if we actually carefully consider, it is going to come from good marriages itself. It is not going to come from elsewhere. So if a devotee husband, devotee wife, they get married and then they have nice children, then already we have one generation support for the second generation. What is the current generation mainly facing? They have non-devotee parents. The non-devotee parents don't understand devotional service. So they have their own idea. So then the devotee couple, they are struggling. So then the congregation generally comes together to support. This is how we live, at least as grahasthas. That I lived in Dubai for 18 years as grahastha. And we got trained in congregation. We were supported by congregation. We had great support from congregation. We were like a family. And all of us practicing Krishna consciousness, all of us helping each other, trying to go higher standards after higher standards, pushing each other in Krishna consciousnness, trying to support each other's children, trying to support each other in many, many practical ways as to how to push the standards of Krishna conscious life. Many things we have done, many practical things we have done. Like, initially when we started Krishna consciousness, we did not know so much of cleanliness standards. We did not know so much of standards of kitchen standards and all those things. Then later, when we actually did Bhakti Shastri, that time there was a whole training on Nitya Kriya. that how to live life as a Vaishnava. There's a whole training on Nitya Kriya. So that Nitya Kriya training for Grahasthas was like, for many people, it was like an eye-opener that what standards we should follow, how we should approach the deities and day-to-day life, how we should live. Then all those people who trained, they got together and then they tried to support each other in such a way that the standards could be followed. So to some extent, in different places, you have this good congregations which actually provides that support. But the real support will come from ideal families who have their children, and then I have seen some families with the 3 generation of ISKCON devotees. And then you see that those families, how they are. Then you find that, oh, family support is going to come from good family. It's not going to come from some lackadaisical grahastha ashram. It's going to come from good family. So the very thing which the person who asked this question is complaining is going to come from what he doesn't want to have. So that's the ideal family. So that's an important thing. So till that that support comes, the cultural support and things, it should come from the congregation, from devotees who actually know. And there is a lot of grahastha training available, different senior devotees in different congregations of different spiritual masters. They're all doing grahastha training. You find in America, there's grahastha training. You find in India, abundant amount of grahastha training. You find that, there are different devotees who are doing training. We are also in the bandwagon of grahastha training. Me and my wife, we also do grahastha training. We have a course called Krishna Conscious Grahastha Ashrama, which we keep preaching, which we keep teaching here and there and everywhere, wherever we are called, wherever we are told to go, we go and teach. So there's a lot of grahastha training and support is available. And also the many grahasthas who are counseling grahasthas, like my wife does that service. Sometimes I pitch into that service when she needs me. And then there's a lot of counseling going on, dispute resolution, practical things. Counseling going on. Is not like that there is absolutely no support and then everybody is splitting their head. It's not like that. So there is support and there could be more support. 100%, there could be more support. So why do we expect that without cultural support or other samskaras, only the 16 samskara, vivaha, should be ideal? Is it not half-hand logic? Somewhere we have to start that we have to tell what is right and what is wrong, and then encourage people to follow what is right. This is all somewhere we have to start. Otherwise, it will be like a chicken and egg logic, that what comes first? Ideal family comes first, or ideal support comes first, or what comes first? Ideal family will make ideal support. Many people may not be able to take it up, but at least some people will be able to take it up. And those who take it up, they will become the support group. They will make the ideal support. So therefore, to say that this is half-hand logic means that you don't get started. So it is not half-hand logic. It's a way to kickstart a process. When you kickstart any process, everything is not going to be ideal. Even ISKCON itself is an example for it. Prabhupada kickstarted ISKCON and he pushed ISKCON. Many things were non-ideal, like the deity worship was non-ideal. Even sannyasis, Prabhupada gave sannyas to so many of them, and you don't find all of them still maintaining sannyas. Some of them are maintaining, some of them are not maintaining. So whenever you start something, you can't immediately expect some super ideal situation. But at the same time, you cannot also stop preaching for and pushing for an ideal situation. If you don't stop preaching for or pushing for an ideal situation, then you don't have anything. You just go back to the material world. That's what you have. Like Prabhupada started ISKCON in a very, very alien setting. He started ISKCON in America, where people are breaking regulatory principles. That's what was their life. Just to break regulatory principles was the way they were living. But Prabhupada did not say, okay, I can't bring a non-ideal situation here. I cannot bring an ideal situation here. So let them break regulatory principles and then let them chant Hare Krishna. I will just give them initiation even if they don't follow any regulatory principles. No, Prabhupada didn't do that. Prabhupada said very strictly, you should follow regulatory principles. You should shave your head. You should do this. You should do that. Prabhupada put rules and regulations for spreading Krishna consciousness, which is required. So then one may argue, oh, you're asking us to follow 4 regulative principles. This is not the way to spread the movement. We should follow only half regulative principle. We should not follow 4 regulative principle. If you say half regulative principle, then many people may subscribe to the movement and movement will grow like anything. No, Prabhupada did not do all that. Prabhupada said, no, follow 4 regulative principles, chant minimum 16 rounds, and this is how you get initiated. So it is a duty of a teacher to push for the standard, to say that this is the standard and to push for the standard. And if we don't do that, then there will be no standard. Nobody will know what is the standard and there will be no standard. Non-standard will become standard. So therefore, it is most logical and it is most required that we have to push for standards. That's normal. That's not abnormal. We need to do it. We need to bring standards into picture. We need to properly train people. We need to tell people what is the standard. Without that, no system will survive. Now, it's another question whether people will follow standard or they will not standard. Are we not disturbing and paralyzing those who are honestly practicing at least some sober, low-level standard compared to the so-called ideal standard we emphasize? Of course, the whole Krishna consciousness is meant to disturb. If there is no disturbance, there is no Krishna consciousness. This is our job, is our duty. Our duty is to disturb everybody. And if somebody did not disturb me, I would have just lived my life thinking that, okay, whatever life I am living is what I am living. I took up to Krishna consciousness. I was living some life. And then we thought, okay, Bhakti Shastri is a nice paper to have, nice degree to have. Let's go for Bhakti Shastri. And then we went for Bhakti Shastri. And then Bhakti Shastri disturbed our life so much that it turned our life upside down because we started reading Prabhupada books very minutely. And then we started thinking, hey, what we are doing and how to improve. So disturbance is not always bad. Disturbance is also good. So disturbance should be there, but it should be there in the right proportion, in the right time, in the right place. There is a difference between talking of standards in a Bhakti Vaibhav class and talking of standards while counseling two people who are struggling in Krishna consciousness. I do both roles. I do the role of a teacher in a Bhakti Vaibhav class, and I also do the role of a counselor for struggling grahasthas. So when struggling grahasthas come, our intention is to keep their Krishna consciousness. Our intention is not to take a AK-47 and start shooting them. Is not our intention. Who are you? Why are you doing this? Why are you what are you able to do? How you can take some baby steps to do it better? Or how can you solve your problem? How can you get stabilized in what you are doing? We are dealing with people who are chanting half round to people who are chanting 64 rounds. We are dealing the whole range. You cannot ask a person who is doing half round to chant 64 rounds. The person who is chanting half round, you should encourage him to come to 1 round. And then you should encourage him to actually chant that 1 round every day. Whether he chant in clicker, whether he chant in bead, whether he chant in this, that, at least you should make him stabilized to chant that 1 round every day, finger, clicker, whatever it is. So there is an approach while preaching, there's an approach while teaching. These two things should not be confused. The role of a teacher is to tell what is right and what is wrong as per Shastra. And if a teacher does not tell that in a class, which is like a Bhakti Shastri class, which is meant to make Brahmana, and a Bhakti Vaibhav class, which is meant to make sannyasis. This is the standard of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, if you finish Bhakti Shastri, you can take second initiation. If you finish Bhakti Vaibhav, you can actually become sannyasi. If you finish Bhakti Vedanta, you can become an initiating spiritual master. So this is the type of education we are dealing with. Now, when we are taking a class and someone asks a question that can man and woman just get married for emotional support and then not have children? Definitely, I am duty bound to tell this is wrong. If I don't do that, I have not done justice to my service as a teacher. If someone goes and says, I have asked my spiritual master that I can actually have emotional support with my wife and not have children, and I have taken blessing from my spiritual master, it is my duty to tell that these are things which are not to be asked a spiritual master. And if I don't tell, whom we are expecting to tell? The problem with the modern world is that nobody wants to hear anything about standard. This is clear leftist mentality. I don't want to hear anything about standard. Whatever I do is standard. Now, is the standard coming from my imagination? No, it is not coming from my imagination. It's coming from Prabhupada books. Who am I to imagine what is the standard? It's coming from Prabhupada books. Prabhupada is telling that this is the standard. This is how things should work. This is what you should do. Even in these purports we are reading, that the same thing is there. In this translation we are reading, same thing is there. So the point is that education means pointing out what is right and what is wrong according to Shastra. If that is not done, then there is no education. That's the problem with modern education. And Ishopanishad condemns that modern education. Ishopanishad says that one should actually hear from a dhira. It is Shushruma dhira nam yenastat vichachakshire. So who is the dhira? Prabhupada is the dhira. So we should hear from what Prabhupada is saying. What is the standard Prabhupada wants? What is the standard Prabhupada is expecting from the Grahasthas? Definitely it should be heard. It should be spoken. It should be told. If we don't do this, we are actually failing our duty towards Prabhupada. Now, if a person is able to follow, we should definitely encourage them to follow. If a person is struggling, if he comes and tells me that, Prabhuji, I am struggling with this, then that's a completely different approach. The many people come and tell me stories about how they struggle, because that's my service. So there the approach is different. There the approach is not, oh, you're doing this, you are going to go to hell, you're a rascal. How did you come to Krishna consciousness? How being a devotee, how can you do this? This is not the approach there. There the approach is to remain non-judgmental, to have empathic listening, to identify with that person's problem, and then see how we can help him to come out of the problem. So that approach and the classroom approach should not be confused. A classroom approach is meant to say what is right and what is wrong. So therefore, it should be heard in a classroom that what is right and what is wrong. I didn't put a gun on all of you and tell you to come to Bhakti Yoga class. You all came by yourself. And I didn't put a gun on you and then tell you that I should become your teacher. You all invited, I came. So we have come in a voluntary setup. We all have come voluntarily to hear what Prabhupada wants from us. Therefore, we should have the open mind to hear what Prabhupada wants from us. So that's very important. If we don't hear that with an open mind, then we will never be able to hear what Prabhupada wants from us. Even in this setting, if we don't hear, then we will not be able to hear from what Prabhupada wants from us in any setting. Those people who don't have 15 samskaras and cultural support system, which is needed to have an ideal marriage as per scripture. No, this is again not a correct statement. Why it is not a correct statement? There are enough scriptural evidence to support that whatever varnashram disadvantage you have, that disadvantage can be removed by practice of Krishna consciousness. It's very clear statements there in Bhagavatam, is there in Nectar of Devotion. Very clear statements are there. So therefore, I don't have previous samskaras, so I cannot follow ideal standard in Krishna consciousness is not an acceptable statement. Because by nature, Bhagavatam says that when you take up Krishna consciousness seriously, your previous disadvantage of not having an ideal situation, it is removed. Aho bato sapacho gariyanya jivvagre vartate namatubhyam tepus tapaste jukushasnararya brahmanachur namagrananti ete. Jiva Goswami cites this as evidence of how prarabdha is destroyed by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Is there in Nectar of Devotion. When Narada Muni speaks. He says, Yasyati bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunasyatta samasate suraha harau abhaktasya kuto mahadguna manoratena asati dhavato bahihi. So he is saying, when you practice Krishna consciousness, all the good qualities of demigods, they actually appear in the person because of the practice of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, to say that the requirement of previous samskaras is a prerequisite to practice ideal grahastha life in Krishna consciousness is not a philosophically supported statement. I can give more evidences on how it works, purely shastric evidences. And then I can also give practical evidences on how it works, both shastric and practical. You can see some very nice grahastha couples who are proper disciples, who are actually living ideal grahastha life. And you see their background. They have no samskara, they have nothing, they have no any samskara. But how they are living ideal grahastha life? Because they agreed to listen to Prabhupada. So to say that conduct in bhakti is dependent on previous karma is never accepted in any part of devotional service. Rather, we hear again and again confirmation that bhakti is independent of karma. So now you may say, no, grahastha life is not bhakti. And that also we cannot accept. Why we cannot accept? Because there are two types of activities which are considered as devotional service. One activity is direct devotional service, which is the 9 types of devotional service. The other activity is not naturally devotional service, but when it is applied in Krishna's service, when it is required, when it is done to please Krishna, then that becomes devotional service. There's a long discussion about this in Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami describes about karmarpanam and kainkaryam. You can read that section. That how activities which are done for the sake of Krishna, it becomes devotional service. You can read that section. You will be able to get clear understanding of the activities need not be intrinsically devotional service, but when they are dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, they become devotional service. So therefore, even grahastha life for grahasthas is devotional service. So that devotional service, all the good qualities, it will simply appear by agreeing to practice Krishna consciousness seriously. So it's not that you cannot practice proper grahastha life if you don't have previous samskaras. That's again the misconception. Then what is more important? Focusing on serving Krishna with some compromised standard or hankering just for an ideal standard. Now, this is a very interesting question, because this question intrinsically assumes the person who hankers for ideal standard is not focusing on Krishna consciousness. There's an intrinsic assumption in this question, and that assumption is not correct. Because why do you want to have a standard? You want to have standard to please Krishna. Like, for example, I'll give another example, completely different example. You may be able to appreciate it better. There is deity worship. Okay. So when you want to worship the deity, you have to go altar clean, and you should keep doing achaman. You have so many different rules and regulations of deity worship. Okay. Now, I can ask the same question. What is more important? Simply aspiring for an ideal standard in worshipping the deity is important, or serving Krishna is important? No, it's a meaningless question. Why? Because you're trying to follow the standard because it pleases Krishna. So to think that, like there's a very nice pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Raghava Pandit. So how Raghava Pandit actually rejected the coconuts which are meant to be offered to the Lord. And in that purport, Prabhupada very specifically writes that Raghava Pandit does not have obsessive compulsive disorder for cleanliness. It's not that he's having some kind of psychological condition that he's a cleanliness freak. He doesn't have that kind of thing. He simply wants to please Krishna. So therefore, he wants to follow high standard. So to think that following high standard is some kind of a freak, and then those who are following low standard, they are only trying to please Krishna, is a completely wrong assumption. So anyone who wants to do anything in Krishna consciousness, they are simply trying to please Krishna. That is the basic assumption. That's why they are in Krishna consciousness. That's why they are in ISKCON. They are not here in ISKCON because they want to do something else. If they are in ISKCON to do something else, definitely that should be addressed, and that kind of mentality should be corrected. What is pleasing to Krishna? Following Shastra is pleasing to Krishna. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. Following Shastra is pleasing to Krishna. So therefore, one should endeavor to follow. And in the process, one may fall down many times. Prabhupada says that a child, when the child learns to walk, the child falls down many times. But the child has the innate ability to walk. So same way, when one tries to follow a certain standard, one may fall down many times. It's understandable because, following a standard is always an austerity. It is always difficult. So then he may go through some difficulty, or she may go through some difficulty, and the rest of people should actually encourage them that, okay, you're not able to come for Mangalarati, at least you come for Darshanarati. And then you get trained to come for Darshanarati. Then slowly you try to come for Mangalarati. Some encouragement should be there. But that doesn't mean that we should not tell people that don't come for Mangalar. We should start telling people, oh, somehow you're practicing Krishna consciousness, that's okay. No need to come for Mangalarati. Mangalarati and all is too, this is all too high standard. It's all for standard freaks. Attending Mangalarati is for standard freaks. They are not trying to please Krishna. They are just trying to freak out with standards. So don't come for Mangalarati. Can we start preaching like this? No, we cannot start preaching like this. Because Prabhupada says attending Mangalarati is very important. So therefore, preaching the right standards is not wrong. It should be done. The support system should be developed. And how do you develop support system? You develop support system by education. Like when we were about 20 families who are doing Bhakti Shastri. We all heard Nitya Kriya class. And in that class, I'll tell you one cool thing. The class, they told that when the woman is out of altar, she should not enter the kitchen. Now, you imagine we are all living in Dubai. We are not in a joint family. Okay, that there are 10 women in the house, and then in rotation, one woman will be out of altar, and the other woman will still be managing the kitchen. We don't have that facility. We are in Dubai, and we are all of us are working. Sometimes both husband and wife are working. All of us are working. So if you think it is next to impossible to follow this standard, you can think like that. But all the women got together, and then they did some brainstorming as to how to follow this standard. And then they formed a support network. And then they said, okay, if you're out of altar, then that time I will supply something, he will supply something, she will supply something, she will supply something, she will supply something, you manage. And then we were able to follow the standard. Why? Because we wanted to follow it. Sometimes the man can cook. Then same way it came that we should only have prasadam which is cooked by devotees and which is offered to the Lord by devotees. A very tough standard to follow in Dubai, in one sense, because sometimes if you go to some big festival, then they order prasad from some Vaishnava hotel or something like that, and then it comes, and then everybody has that prasad. So now to actually say that no, we will only take prasadam which is cooked by devotees, it's tough, it's difficult. So that time we formed the support group, and then we started taking prasadam. And then we started having that prasadam. Okay, we have simple prasad. Others may have opulent prasad. You have simple prasad. It's okay, no problem. And then that became an agent for change. And then everybody started saying, oh, we should stop ordering from outside. We should actually form a cooking team. We should cook our prasadam ourselves. And then it happened. So the point is that that it's not wrong to aspire to follow standards. It's not like unless I have everything ideally situated in my situation, then only I will follow standard. Otherwise, I will not follow standard. This is all not practical approach in following standards. It's not practical approach. If you try to follow with what you have, you may fall down, you may get up, you may again fall down, you may again get up. It's okay. It's okay. That part is okay. Because you're trying to follow and then something is happening. It's okay. And not everybody might follow every standard. Everybody may follow certain standard which is possible for them. And even if you say, if you don't say, there will always be a set of people who will do what they want. That you will never be able to stop. They will do what they want. And they will practice their Krishna consciousness the way they want. But you can't say that is how it should be. And you will actually do a disservice to everybody by saying that is how it should be. Because there may be a set of people in that group itself who actually don't know that certain standard has to be followed. So when they hear, then they may agree to follow that standard. They may say, many times it has happened that especially this child thing is so common with modern devotees. The devotees think, oh, child is a disturbance for preaching. Child, without child, we can become Paramahamsas by preaching. All these kind of ideas are there. And that is being propagated also. So many people, because my wife teaches Bhakti Shastri to women. So many women come to her and then they actually have some big discussion with her that why we should have children, why we need not have children, how children is such a big trouble, and all those things. And my wife patiently explains to them that, this is not like this, it's like this is what Prabhupada is saying, that you have concession of sex life to have children, all these things, this whole discussion, it takes place. And finally, some of them get convinced and they have had children. Some of them don't get convinced. They still say, no, we will do what we want. So you can't put a gun on their head and then say you can start shooting them. No. Okay, do what you want to do. You can't do anything. But out of the 10, if 2 will get convinced that yes, we should have children, then it's good. Because at least 2 got convinced. Prabhupada is writing in Bhagavad Gita preface. We are all familiar with it. Prabhupada says, even if 1 person becomes pure devotee, I'll consider my movement successful. That is the mood of the founder Acharya. That if 1 person becomes pure devotee, we are successful. That's the mood of the founder Acharya. And when our founder Acharya is having that mood, how can we say, okay, let them all practice some low-level Krishna consciousness, whatever they're doing, let them practice their low-level Krishna consciousness and do what they want to do. How can we have that mood? The whole purpose of Krishna consciousness is Jivadoya. Jivadoya means that you stop a person from suffering by giving them Krishna consciousness. And in the process, it is very clearly said by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita that happiness in mode of goodness is bitter in the beginning and sweet in the end. So some bitterness, some austerity will be there in the beginning. And those who are able to take that austerity, they will taste the sweetness in the end. So those who are not able to take that austerity, it's okay. Let them do what they want. But that cannot become a standard. That cannot become a standard. So we have to be careful. We need not get overworked with these things. We should know what is right. We should know what is wrong. And we should be bold in saying what is right and what is wrong. And we should see the time, place, and circumstance in delivering, in how to package that message. That's very important thing. That with who are your audience, to whom you are speaking, and how you are going to package that message. That's a really important thing. That is where the skill of the preacher lies. That how he is going to package it to a person in such a way that the person at least accepts, okay, this is the standard, but I'm not able to follow. One day I will try to follow. That's okay. That's also fine. That's also fine. So we can have a long rope, but we should have a rope. We cannot practice Krishna consciousness without a rope. That will not work. We can have a very long rope. That's not a problem. But there should be a rope. And that rope is the standard. You can give a long rope in people trying to follow the standard, but you should tell them that this is the standard. You should not say that this is not the standard. Okay, so I hope that this addresses all the points which is raised in that question. And if there are more points, if you want more discussion, you can always either raise your hand and speak, or if you want to write in the chat, you can write in the chat, or if you want to write an email to me, you can write an email to me. I think Nashimata Prabhu knows my email address. I can also put it on the chat box. You can always contact me. I don't have a problem in discussing these things in a detailed manner. But the most important thing we should understand is that we have a duty as a teacher. When we teach Shastra, we have a duty as a teacher. So that duty is to tell what is right and what is wrong without hesitation. We should do it. And we should be able to back it up with Shastra. It's not like, what is right and what is wrong according to your mind. If it is your mind, then it's my mind. What is there? Mind has no value. We should be able to back it up with Shastra. That's generally what we should do. We should try to follow that kind of standard. Okay. Any questions from anybody? Okay. Please read the purport.
The instructions given by Narad and Angira Muni are the true spiritual instructions for the illusion conditioned soul. This world is temporary, but because of our previous karma, we come here and accept bodies, creating temporary relationships in terms of society, friendship, and love. Society, friendship, love, nationality, and community, which are all finished at death. These temporary relationships did not exist in the past, nor will they exist in the future. Therefore, at the present moment, the so-called relationships are illusions.
Yeah, as long as they are not connected to Krishna, they are all illusion only. So therefore, it is important that they should be connected to Krishna. If they are properly connected to Krishna, then the relationships have some value. If they are not, then the relationships don't have any value. It's very clearly said. Krishna says, "Tetam ya pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyat atmano maya eta bhaso eta tamaha." That what is Maya? Maya is actually seeing things independent of Krishna. This will be further explained in the purport. We already saw that in the translation. It will be further explained in the purport. Okay. Please
The
read.
misunderstanding of the conditioned soul is the bodily conception of life. Unfortunately, one who is in ignorance under the spell of material illusion accepts the body to be the self. Unless one knows this, there is no question of happiness. We are not the body, we are spiritual beings trapped in the body. Our real interest lies in understanding this simple fact. Then we can make further spiritual progress. Political adjustments, social welfare work, medical assistance, and the other programs we have manufactured for peace and happiness will never endure. We shall have to undergo the sufferings of material life one after another.
So this is a very practical point Prabhupada brings up, that what is the cause of our suffering? Our cause of our suffering is not understanding the simple fact that we are not this body. That's why Prabhupada kept on insisting on this point that you're not this body. So now what does it mean to understand that you're not this body? It means that you don't lament for what is related to the body. This is the first thing. Okay. You don't get bewildered by the change of body. That's the second thing. And the third thing is that you tolerate what comes to the body. These three things. So these three things constitute the understanding that you are not this body. And these three things are explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, "Asochaya nanasochastam pragyavadam subhasashe gatasam agatasam cha nanasochanti panditaha." Don't lament on what is related to this body. Second is, "Dehino asminita dehe kaumaram yavvanam jarat tatat dehantra prapti dhiras tatra na muhyati." Don't get bewildered by the change of body. Young woman looks so attractive, it's simply change of body. Young man looks so attractive, it's simply change of body. Or a old man is completely disoriented because his body is giving him so much trouble. It's simply change of body. A old woman is completely disoriented because of the change of because of the trouble with the body is giving simply change of body. Every day in the Mangalarti in the morning, in Mayapur, I see one very old devotee, very old, and he can take only small steps. He cannot take big steps. He cannot take long strides. He can take only very small steps. And that step also, how he takes, he can't lift his foot and take the step. He only has to drag his feet to take the step. So he drags his feet. He takes small steps. He drags his feet. And then he comes and stand in front of Panchatattva. And then he will raise both his hands, and throughout Mangalarti, he will be moving like this, like this, like this, like this. He cannot move much also. He can only move like this, like this, like this, like this. He will move. And he will be singing Mangalarti song. He will sing Hare Krishna. And then after Mangalarti is over, then slowly he will start moving towards the outside of the temple hall. It takes a lot of time for him to do that. But he's doing it. This is called not being bewildered by bodily change. He is not some big leader. He is not some big devotee. He doesn't have followers in YouTube. He is not some big personality. He doesn't give class. He's a simple Bengali devotee. But every day I see him without fail. Every day I see him without fail. And sometimes I feel that when I reach his stage, like the body he has, I feel that I should have the courage to do what he's doing. He's such an inspiration. To take the trouble, to move, to take that small steps, to drag the feet, come and stand in front of Panchatattva, and then try to dance. So therefore, one should understand the reality, and one should be able to try to separate the substance from the shadow. So if one is not able to do that, as long as one's consciousness is rooted in the shadow, not in the substance, then one will not be able to be happy. And whenever we face misery in Krishna consciousness, is mainly because there are two types of misery. One misery is the misery of separation from Krishna. That's like the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. Today morning in the Bhagavatam class, Manigopal Prabhu was giving class, and he gave a wonderful class. And actually he was explaining that the purpose of life is to become mad after Krishna. Very, very beautiful class. So that misery of missing Krishna, that Krishna is not there, he's not there, that misery, that's the topmost of our philosophical understanding. We are not talking about that misery. There are devotees who face other types of misery in Krishna consciousness. They have problem, interpersonal problem, they have this problem, that problem. They have, a husband has problem with wife has problem with husband, parents have problem with children have problem with parents, devotees have problem with management has problem with devotees. All sorts of problems exist. Why they are existing? Because the focus is on the shadow. The focus is not on the substance. That is the problem. Still, we are engaged in the bodily conception of life. So therefore, Prabhupada practically points out that our interest lies in understanding this simple fact. We are spiritual beings trapped in this body. It's a very profound statement. It's a very profound statement. We are spiritual beings trapped in this body. If we meditate on this statement, then half our miseries will get solved. Okay, please read.
Maharaj Chitraketu was actually not destined to get a son. Therefore, although he married hundreds and thousands of wives, all of them proved barren, and he could not beget even one child. King Chitraketu was not destined to get a child by providence or the will of the Supreme. Indeed, sometimes a child is born despite contraceptive methods, and therefore the parents kill the child in the womb. In the present age, killing children in the womb has become a common practice. Why? When contraceptive methods are taken, why don't they act? Why the child sometimes produced so that the father and mother have to kill it in the womb? We must conclude that our arrangement of so-called scientific knowledge cannot determine what will take place. What is enacted actually depends on the supreme will. It is by the supreme will that we are situated in certain conditions in terms of family, community, and personality. These are all arrangements of the Supreme Lord according to our desires under the spell of Maya illusion. In devotional life, therefore, one should not desire anything since everything depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should act only to develop Krishna consciousness. For everything else, one should fully depend upon the Supreme Person. We should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated.
Yeah, we should not create plans in the material platform. We should create plans in the Krishna conscious platform. No, we should not misunderstand this statement. So we should not create plans about. We should not create materialistic plans. That's what it means. It's not. It doesn't mean about spiritual plans. It talks about materialistic plan. So Prabhupada makes many important statements here. That what is Chitraketu's problem? Chitraketu's problem was he was not destined to have a child, and then he tried to have a child. That is his problem. So as much as we are saying that in a marriage, the husband and wife, the purpose of marriage is to have child, they should actually try to have child. They should not artificially decide that they should not have a child. Same way, when they make an honest attempt to have a child, and if the child is not happening, then they should be satisfied with that also. They should be satisfied with that also. Both are true. This is also true, that is also true. Because they are not destined to have a child. Then they should be satisfied with that. Now, the problem with Kali Yuga is that neither these people are satisfied nor that people are satisfied. Okay. This is the problem. The problem is those who have the capacity to have child, they are artificially deciding that we won't have child. And those who are unable to have child, they are artificially deciding that we will have child. Both are intervention. And both interventions have some effect, or both interventions have some effect. So therefore, one should not, that's what Prabhupada says, one should not create plans that will ultimately make us frustrated. For everything, for everything else, one should fully dependent on the Supreme Person. Okay, I want to have child. I should be dependent on the Supreme Person. Okay, if he gives child, okay. Even in the Vivaha mantra, is very clearly said that Vishnu, please impregnate this woman let her have 10 sons, let there be 11 men. So the impregnating force is not the husband, the impregnating force is Vishnu. The husband acknowledges that. That the Lord is the impregnating force. So therefore, we should actually train ourselves to accept the supreme will in the ordinary dealings in our life. We should try to accept the supreme will. That's extremely important for a devotee. When in the 12th chapter Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains those qualities of a person who is very dear to him, he says that a devotee is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. He very clearly says, Prabhupada says that, it's Krishna himself saying that a devotee is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. So that mood we should actually try to develop. And that is what it means to understand that we are not this body. Because ordinary course of activities, the senses are engaging with sense objects. This is the ordinary course of activities. And that is happening everywhere. Even whatever ashram you are, whatever situation you are, you have senses and there are sense objects. The senses are engaging in sense objects. So if our happiness or misery is simply dependent on this engagement, that means we are dependent on the ordinary course of activities, which is only simply mental satisfaction. And mind is such a thing that it never gets satisfied. Mind is such an agency, it never gets satisfied. So, therefore, Chitraketu is being given very pertinent advice. Okay. Please read the underlined portion.
According to the Vaishnava philosophy, however, the present situation is not false but temporary. It is like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period for dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in the sense that it is impermanent. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation and those of others, is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place or after it is over. And so during the dream or during a dreamlike situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. This is real knowledge.
Yeah. So therefore, one should do one's duty and then be detached. In all circumstances, whatever situation one accepts, in that situation, one should do one's duty and then one should remain detached. This is what is the basic requirement to become Krishna conscious. That's why Krishna says in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbur mate sangosta karmani. One should not give up doing their duty. Whatever is the duty one should do, one should not be attached to not doing their duty. This is where our previous discussion comes. That if you become Grahastha, your duty is to have children. So don't be attached to not doing your duty. Mate sangosta karmani. And you do your duty, you are accepted an ashram, the ashram has certain purpose. You fulfill that purpose of that ashram. And in the process, depend on Krishna. In the process, depend on Krishna. Okay, if Krishna gives children is good, then you put your endeavor to actually make them Krishna conscious. And ultimately, whether they'll become Krishna conscious or not, again, that's not up to you. It's between them and Krishna. But you actually create an atmosphere in such a way that they are able to become Krishna conscious or they appreciate Krishna consciousness. If you're able to do that, it's fine. Then be detached. Then don't run behind the children. Saying that, oh, my son, oh, my daughter, oh, my this, oh, my that, oh, my daughter-in-law, oh, my... It's all nonsense. Give them what you have to give them. Do your duty and then be detached. That is proper Grahastha life. To be attached after doing your duty, that's also not correct. To be attached not doing your duty, that's also not correct. It's a very, very basic lesson in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that in second chapter, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbur mate sangosta karmani. But what is the problem? The problem is that when you actually do it with a sense of duty, you may not actually put your full effort into it. Okay, this duty, let me do it. But when you actually understand that this duty I am doing to please Krishna, that's what Bhagavatam points out. Atapumbir dujashreshta varnashrame ubhagashaha swanishtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. I should be a good brahmachari because it's pleasing to Krishna. I should be a good grahastha because it is pleasing to Krishna. I should be a good vanaprastha because it is pleasing to Krishna. I should be a good sannyasi because it is pleasing to Krishna. Or I should be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra because it's pleasing to Krishna. That idea should be clearly there. Prabhupada points out in one of the purports that Anukulyana Krishna Anusilanam Bhakti Uttama. Don't do things which you're not supposed to do. Anyabhilashita Sunyam. Don't be attached doing things which you're not supposed to do. Anyabhilashita Sunyam. Jnana Karma Dhanavrutam. Don't get attached to enjoyment of piety in this material world. Don't get attached to impersonalism. Simply do things to please Krishna. So this is sadhana bhakti. This is not like bhava bhakti or prema bhakti. This is simply Shuddha sadhana bhakti. So there is Shuddha sadhana bhakti, there's Shuddha bhava bhakti, and there's Shuddha prema bhakti. This is just simply Shuddha sadhana bhakti. And doing the Shuddha sadhana bhakti means that good qualities will arise. That's the arising of auspiciousness, Shubhada. That's the arising of auspiciousness. Good qualities will arise. And what kind of good qualities arise? Again, Rupa Goswami has discussed this elaborately in Nectar of Devotion, that what are the different good qualities which will arise. He lists all those good qualities which actually arises by practicing of Shuddha Sadhana. So that's what we are meant to do. We are meant to accept our duties which are destined within this body for the sake of pleasing Krishna, but with a sense of detachment. A sense of detachment. So that's what we are meant to do. Whatever ashram we are in, that's what we are meant to do.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, quite often this dream concept comes in Srimad Bhagavatam in several places.
Yeah.
I just wanted to desire to hear, can you please elaborate a little bit that how this material world is a dream?
Yeah, because you have imagined something which you are not. That's what happens in a dream. Okay. You're actually imagining that you're an enjoyer, but you're not an enjoyer. You're a secondary enjoyer, you're not the primary enjoyer. But again, are you enjoying? You're also not enjoying, but you're again imagining that you're enjoying. So therefore, everything is not a certain reality. Everything is certain imagination. It's all made by mind. The same mind is able to accept or reject whatever circumstance is there. The same mind is able to accept or reject. And then when the mind accepts, everything seems to be very nice. When the mind rejects, nothing seems to be nice. It's all just the question of mind. The mind is accepting and rejecting. Everything seems to be nice. When the boy is running behind the girl and the girl is running behind the boy, then mind is accepting the boy and the girl. The boy's mind is accepting the girl and the girl's mind is accepting the boy. They are always thinking about each other. Oh, this girl, oh, this boy. They are chatting on WhatsApp, blah, 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 and then they are talking to each other, blah, 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 and so many things they are doing. But the moment they get married, they start fighting like cats and dogs. Arey, till yesterday you are chatting for hours and hours in WhatsApp. Today, why you are fighting cats and dogs? Oh, we got married. So then the same mind now is rejecting. Previously, the mind was accepting. Now the same mind is rejecting. Same boy, same girl. It's not different boy, different girl. Same boy, same girl. Before marriage, chat, chat, chat. And after marriage, fight, fight, fight. Why? Because mind is accepting, mind is rejecting. The chat is also not reality. The fight is also not reality.
And we are identifying with that point. Huh?
We are identifying, when we are chatting, we are identifying with the chat. Oh, my lovely girl. Oh, my lovely boy. We are identifying with this. And then we are fighting. Oh, you demand, why did you come in my life? Oh, you demand, why did you come in my life? Are? So the real point is that why it is compared to a dream? Because we are accepting something which is not reality as reality. Now, what is the difference between the dream and actual material life? There's some difference also. This is the similarity. Because a dream is not exactly the same as material life. What is the difference? The difference is you are not put into a dream by someone. And you're not dependent on someone else to come out of the dream. When a dream happens, you actually sleep and nobody is inducing you into the dream. Nobody is coming and standing and telling you, now, you sleeping man, you go into a dream. You see this, you see that. Nobody is telling like that. You yourself are entering the dream. And then when the dream becomes too much, you yourself are getting out of the dream. So you're entering in the dream by your own violation and you're coming out of the dream by your own violation. That doesn't happen with material life. You are put into Maya's control by Krishna, and then you will be taken out of Maya's control by Krishna. Is a big difference. Is a big difference. This is where we differ from Mayavadis. The Mayavadis also use dream as an analogy. We also use dream as an analogy. Where is the difference between our dream analogy and their dream analogy? They think that they have entered the dream by their own violation, and they will come out of the dream by their own violation, simply meditating on Aham Brahmasmi. But we are saying that the Jiva has the ability to desire, but he lacks the resources to fulfill his desire. So, to fulfill his desire, for the resources to fulfill his desire, the Jiva is dependent on Krishna. Why we are saying that? Because the Upanishad is saying, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Yeko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. There's one person who is actually fulfilling the desire of all the multiple Jivas. So we are saying that's so is it there? The Ishabris also it is there. Is the Ishabris also same statement is there? That he is the one who is Yatatat Etortan Vidadhayak Chasudebhya Samabhyaha. That he is the one for time immemorial fulfilling the desires and needs of every living entity. Is there an Upanishad? So, based on the strength of Vedic statements, we are saying that we are put into this dream by Krishna, and we can be retrieved from this dream by Krishna only. This discussion happened in third canto. If you remember that when Maitreya was answering Vidura, that how that living entity can come out of this conditioning. He said, Savai Nivritti Dharmena Vasudeva Anukampaya Bhagavad Bhakti Yogena Tirodhatye Saneriha. He said, by practicing devotional service which is based on renunciation, and by mercy of Lord Vasudeva, slowly this querying tendency of the soul will get cured. He said that. So that's the difference between our dream analogy and the dream analogy of the Mayavadi. Is clear?
And Roji, we when you perform bhakti in this dream, then everything becomes real, right?
No, that bhakti is not a dream. Bhakti is actually real. So when you perform bhakti, you're already trying to come out of the dream. Like, there are two different dreaming stages. When you dream, there are two different dreaming stages. In one dreaming stage, you're actually dreaming and you don't know you are dreaming. Right? That is one stage. Okay. You experience a dream, but you don't know you are dreaming. You're in the dream, you're fully into it. That is your reality at this time. Then, at a stage will come where you will actually be dreaming, and you will also realize that you are dreaming.
Correct.
Have you gone through that stage?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. You're actually dreaming. The dream is going on still, but your consciousness also has awakened. And you know that you are dreaming. It's just a matter of time when you will get up. So, doing material activities in complete bodily conception is like being completely into the dream. Starting Krishna consciousness is like awakening, where you are aware that you are a person and you are dreaming. So that awareness that you are a person is Krishna consciousness or the Krishna conscious activities, and you are dreaming is still your attachment to material activities. Is it clear?
Correct, Roji. Yeah. Yes, Roji. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's proceed. What's the time? Okay, we need one more purport and then we can take a break. Okay, please read.
The previous purport was left out.
We already read no purport.
No, another side was left.
Huh?
Previous to this page, that another side, right side was left.
What was left?
Yes, yeah, this one, the Supreme.
Please read what was left. Please read.
Okay. The present chaotic conditions of the world are due to the ignorance of leaders
who
forget that they have been appointed to act by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they have been appointed by the Lord, their duty is to consult the Lord and act accordingly. The book for consultation is Bhagavad Gita, in which the Supreme Lord gives directions. Therefore, those who are engaged in creation, maintenance, and annihilation should consult the Supreme Person, who has appointed them, and should act accordingly. then everyone will be satisfied and there will be no disturbances.
Yeah, see, this is very important, this is also because we are also leaders, we are also preachers. So we can't preach Krishna consciousness the way we want. We have to preach Krishna consciousness the way Acharya wants. This is a very important thing, that we should understand this, that how do we preach Krishna consciousness? Here it very clearly says that those leaders, they should act according to the supreme will. So that's what we should also do. We should try to preach Krishna consciousness not according to what we want. Rather, we should try to preach Krishna consciousness the way the Acharya wants us to preach. That's why sometimes we write essays on mood and mission, and then we try to understand Prabhupada's mood and mission. It's all very important because we can't create a mission within the mission. We are not visionaries. We are simply missionaries. What does it mean? The vision is given by the Acharya. Our job is to simply execute that vision. We are not meant to create a vision. Okay, this is my vision for ISKCON. No, we are not meant to do that. The vision for ISKCON is there in the sound purpose of ISKCON. We are simply meant to execute that vision. That's our mission. And in the process of executing that vision, we may come up with many ways of executing that mission. We may show our own creativity in executing that mission in many different ways, many different ideas, many different preaching programs, and so many different things, which, many things are happening and many things are successful in ISKCON. All of you also know that different type of preaching programs are there. They're all having their varied degrees of success. It's all fine. It's all fine. There's no problem. But the vision should be the sound purpose of ISKCON. That cannot be changed. So therefore, we should present and preach Krishna consciousness the way Prabhupada wanted us, without compromising the vision of the Acharya. We should be able to present it. Okay, we'll take a break. It's already 12 o'clock. Please take 10 minutes, do your Gayatri or have a break. And then we come back and then we continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare. Okay, we'll try to continue back. Somebody can read.
Actually, both the material and Actually, both the material and spiritual energies, matter and spirit, exist eternally as potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hmm.
The so-called father and mother have nothing to do with the living entity. As a result of his own choice and karma, the living being takes different bodies through the agency of the so-called fathers and mothers.
Yeah, so this should be clearly understood. That the so-called father and mother have got nothing to do with the living entity. It doesn't mean that the father and mother should abandon the child when the child is born. It simply means that a karma which is binding them. Okay, there's a karma which is binding them, and according to that karma, we are all meant to give some happiness and distress to each other. That's why we are coming together. It's not like some by chance we are all coming together. Okay. We are all coming together because we are meant to give some happiness and distress to each other. We are bound by that relationship. So nothing happens by chance. So since it is destined to be like this, therefore they have got nothing to do with it. In that sense, they have got nothing to do with it. It's not like they should not do their duties. They should do their duties. Everybody should do their duty. Okay. But at the same time, we should understand that we have all come together because we are bound by our own karma to come together. And then by coming together, we are going to give some happiness and distress to each other. Like, when you sit in a class and then when you listen to what I'm saying, sometimes you may be happy, sometimes you may be unhappy. You may become unhappy. You may think that, oh, why this guy is saying like this? What happened to this guy? Why he is, ding, 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 saying like this? You may become sometimes unhappy. Sometimes you become very happy. Oh, okay, nice, this nice thing to hear. Sometimes you become very happy. But is this happening by chance? No, it is not happening by chance. It's because we are destined to come together. So, therefore, any relationship, if we clearly understand this, that we are just dealing with the agencies. Every upadhi is an agency. We have different upadhis. And we deal with different upadhis. In this material world, we are not dealing with the souls. We are dealing with the upadhis of the souls. That's what we are dealing with. Like if this person is my friend, it is an upadhi. This person is my enemy, it's an upadhi. So that person is neither your friend nor your enemy. It's simply a upadhi which you have attached to that person. And that person might attach some upadhi to you. So upadhi to upadhi dealing is happening. So this is also a designation, that's also a designation. One designation is dealing with another designation. The soul having a male body is thinking that I am husband, and the soul having the female body is thinking I am wife. And then they simply are dealing with each other. Sometimes the husband and wife are talking very sweet words to each other, and they are very nicely, sweetly talking to each other. Sometimes they are fighting like cats and dogs. But when they are talking sweet words to each other and they are fighting like cats and dogs, both times they are simply upadhis dealing with upadhis. This is not one soul dealing with another soul. This has to be understood. When a person understands this, then he becomes peaceful. Because he knows, okay, this is just an agency and I'm dealing with this agency, and this agency is in front of me by Krishna's arrangement to give me some happiness, some distress. Okay, let me tolerate the happiness, let me tolerate the distress. It's not that distress also is only to be tolerated. Happiness also is to be tolerated. In fact, to tolerate happiness is more difficult than tolerating distress. Because at least you know that distress means if distress is there, some pain is there, some mental disturbance is there, you need to tolerate it. But in happiness, you just get carried away because, I'm so happy, my wife is doing whatever I want. You just get carried away. But one should tolerate happiness also. One should not get carried away. One should understand that this also will go. This also will go. So one should remain sober. So if one learns to tolerate happiness and distress, seeing them as passing phases of life, and if one is able to utilize everything for progressing in Krishna consciousness, then he has understood the real purpose of life. Otherwise, it's just dealing of upadhis with upadhis. It may be dealings in brahmacharya ashram, it may be dealings in grahastha ashram, it may be dealings in any ashram. Just dealing of upadhis with upadhis. Oh, why this fellow became my roommate? Why cannot another fellow be my roommate? This fellow is so creating so much problem because of me. I'm not able to be peaceful in this room. Upadhi, dealing with upadhi. So if we understand that everything is an agency and there is a meaning for everything, it's not meaningless, there's a meaning for everything, then we'll be able to deal with every situation in a much better and much peaceful manner. And we'll come out of these imaginations, like a generalization and specification such as nationality and individuality. Imaginations of person who are not advanced in knowledge. Nowadays, it's also become another problem in ISKCON. Nationality is becoming such a big thing. People are getting confused with Indian nationality and ISKCON. Prabhupada made an international society for Krishna consciousness. Sometimes people, devotees within ISKCON, they consider themselves a Hindu. We are Hindus. We should be against Muslims. We should be against Christians. Something like, sometimes they think like that. Sometimes they think, oh, I'm Indian and my Indian leader is great leader. Something like that. All they think also. Prabhupada very clearly says, Bhagavad very clearly says, these are imaginations of people who are not advanced in knowledge. It is imagination of people who are not advanced in knowledge. That to think that I belong to a particular faith or belong to a particular nation. So very clearly in 10th kind of Bhagavatam said this kind of people are considered as cow or ass. Sayeva Gokaraha. So we should not get too much carried away by this nationalistic fervor. Oh, I am Indian and I am very proud about India. No, we are proud about Vedic heritage. And Vedic heritage means this entire world is Vedic heritage. And we are very proud about our Guru Varga, our Parampara. These are things which we can be naturally proud about. And what is there to be proud about this? We are proud about this because our Guru Varga, our Acharya Parampara has wanted everyone to remain Krishna conscious. We want to preach to Muslim, we want to preach to Christian, we want to preach to Hindu, we want to preach to Yavana, Milecha, Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Birasumba, Yavana Kasha, Epishu Papa Yogi. Sudhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. Apashreya Ashreya. Apashreya Ashreya. Sudhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. So that's our mood. We should have that broad vision, broad mentality. Mahantaste Samachitta Prashanta Vimanyava Sugurta Sadhavoye. Very nicely, Rishabhadev explains. A great personality, Mahat, means he is Samachitta. He has equal vision. He is not discriminating based on the body. He is Samachitta. He is not thinking, oh, this Indian devotee, this Pakistani devotee, this is Punjabi devotee, this is South Indian devotee, this is roti eating devotee, this is rice eating devotee. No, one doesn't make discriminations like this by bodily designation. Rather, one tries to take everybody to Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Prabhu, one clarification.
Yes.
You were saying that Upadhi is dealing with the Upadhi.
Yeah.
So, knowing well that Upadhi is dealing with Upadhi, in our stage, I mean, is it expected that we give up Upadhi completely and act on the soul platform? Or is it expected that while in our Upadhi, we should function in a best Krishna conscious manner? how we are supposed to function.
So we are actually, see, we need some upadhi. Like for example, brahmachari is a upadhi, right? So it's very clearly told in Nectar of Devotion that varnashrama has got nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, right? There's a whole discussion that varnashrama is not an anga of bhakti. In Nodi, there's a whole chapter is there. Varnashrama is not an anga of bhakti. But still we utilize varnashram. You identify yourself as brahmachari, you put saffron, and then you go around as a brahmachari. It is very useful. Why it is useful? Because acting within that upadhi, it actually gives you the time and space to actually practice your Krishna consciousness in the most comfortable way which you can practice. The moment you are a brahmachari, then people don't disturb you so much. You're not bound to maintain people. You are simply maintained by the institution. You're happy with what facilities provided by the institution. You go around and preach. You're not bothered about, what kind of residence, what is this, what is that, what is this arrangement, what is that arrangement. Having that upadhi comes with a certain restriction and a certain freedom. What is the restriction? The restriction is you're not supposed to think about women, you're not supposed to talk to women, you're not supposed to deal with women, you're not supposed to have a relationship with women, all the different restrictions of brahmacharya life. So it comes with a certain restriction and it comes with a certain freedom. And you have chosen that this combination of restriction and freedom is the best combination for me to practice my Krishna consciousness. Right? So therefore, that upadhi is being utilized to practice Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, you should be careful not to get carried away by the upadhi. That's the most important thing. That it has its utility in Krishna consciousness, but we should not get carried away by it. Means that in our dealings with others, we should not just get carried away by this particular upadhi which we are having. Like you may be dealing with other brahmacharis. Okay. And then sometimes, brahmachari has a misunderstanding with another brahmachari, and then it becomes like a big issue. But why? It's just upadhis dealing with upadhis. Then why we should have such big misunderstandings? There's no need to have big misunderstandings. You all come together. Sometimes, you're dissatisfied with something. Of course, if you want to improve things, we want to give feedback, it's always okay. It's not like we should not get mixed up with these things. That we may want to improve something and we may want to give some feedback. And even that should be done as a matter of duty. That it is better, we can improve this by doing it in a certain way. So you give the feedback to the competent authority and then you follow with the feedback. Can this be implemented? Is there some issue in implementing? Can I help you in implementing this? You can do all that, but it should be done more as a matter of duty, not that, you become very attached to, these guys, they're not doing, so they're doing some politics because I told about this, now they're serving me less paneer. Last, feast, I got more paneer, this feast, less paneer is coming. Why? Because I gave some feedback to management. They have told that you don't give paneer to this guy, like that. No, we should not think all that. We should not unnecessarily complicate our thought process when upadhis are dealing with upadhis. We should be aware that this is what is happening. But it is also very important to utilize that in Krishna consciousness because it has a certain advantage, because you need that in material world, because you have a body. The body should have an identity. All of us cannot be like Rishabhadev who was roaming around naked, or Sukadeva Goswami is roaming around naked, or Jadabharata who was roaming around with one kaupin. We cannot be like that. Because mainly we are preachers. We need to dress nicely, we need to carry ourselves nicely, we need to talk nicely, all these things we need to do. So, upadhi is not completely useless. It is useful, but it should be used only to the extent it is useful in Krishna consciousness. Is it okay?
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay. Let's continue.
The word Jnana Hitava is very significant because great personalities like those listed in these verses wander on the surface of the globe not to mislead the populace, but to distribute real knowledge. Without this knowledge, human life is wasted.
Yeah, so the same thing we find that Vidura also tells Maitreya. He says that Janasya Krishnat Vimukasya Devat Adharmashilasya Sudukkitasya Anugraha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardhanasya. It's a very, 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 very beautiful shloka, which Vidura speaks to Maitreya in glorification of Maitreya. He says that you simply go around this, wander on this material world to give mercy. And there's also a very nice kirtana, Krodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai. It's a very beautiful kirtana. And in that kirtana also it is said, Nityananda Prabhu is simply wandering to give his mercy. He is going to different towns and village. He is wandering on different towns and village. He is simply to give his mercy. So that is what is their thinking, that they should travel, they should give mercy. Okay.
Practically everyone throughout the universe, especially on this planet, Burlok, thinks that there is no separate existence of the body and soul, and therefore no need of self-realization. The word Panchashikha is also important. One who is liberated from the conceptions of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, and who is perfectly aware of the subtle coverings of the soul is called Panchashikha.
So we already dealt with these different koshas in Bhagavad Gita in 13th chapter. There's an explanation of all these koshas, that Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So one should come out of the misunderstanding about these koshas, like Annamaya kosha, the supreme is realized through food. In Pranamaya kosha, the supreme is realized through the symptoms of life. In Manomaya kosha, the supreme is simply realized through the mental activity. In Vijnanamaya kosha, the supreme is realized as not being matter. In Anandamaya kosha, there's a misunderstanding that I am that supreme. So one should come out of all these different types of these conceptions. One should come out of the different types of conception, and one should actually understand that Mukti Hitva Netrupam Swarupena Vivastitihi, that one should actually be situated in one Swarupa, Swarupena Vivastitihi. So therefore, it's important. But most of the world is struggling between Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. Most of the world is struggling between these three things. If you don't get food, then there's a riot to change the government. There's food riots to change the government. When I was in Middle East, when I was just leaving Middle East, around 2012, 2011, 2010, 2011, there were food riots in Egypt, in some other country, I forgot the name also. There were food riots because people are not able to get food. So government put military to make food, but the military also was not able to supply so much food. So then the whole government was overthrown in Egypt and also some other country. It was called Arab Springs. So a lot of disturbance was in Arab countries. Many monarchies in Arab countries, they rushed to placate their citizens by rolling out various concessions to them, and so many different things happened. But it's all based on Annamaya kosha, just food, Annamaya kosha, not even Pranamaya, it's just Annamaya kosha. So these things can be very strong. This can be very strong. This identification of the different koshas is very strong. It can be very strong. Therefore, this Panchashikha is very important. That what is explained by Krishna in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very, very important. It's very important. What is Prakriti? Who is Purusha? What is Jnana? What is Gaya? What is Kshetra, Kshetrajya? It's all very important. And the entire confusion of the whole world, you take any philosophy or any non-philosophy, the whole confusion is simply due to misunderstanding these 6 items. Every philosophy or every philosophical misconception is everything because of the misidentification of the 6 items. And why that misidentification of 6 items happens? It happens because of attachment to certain kosha. So therefore, it is very important that one should be liberated from this understanding by properly reading Bhagavad Gita, by properly reading Bhagavatam. One should be liberated from this understanding. Okay, please continue.
One must admit oneself in the lotus feet of great personalities who can actually deliver transcendental knowledge. Only one who is actually eager to receive knowledge to eradicate the dark clouds darkness of ignorance is eligible to approach a guru or a spiritual master. The guru should not be approached for material benefits. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are many bogus gurus who display magic to their disciples, and many foolish disciples want to see such magic for material benefits. These disciples are not interested in pursuing spiritual life to save themselves from the darkness of ignorance. This gives the definition of the guru: one who enlightens a disciple and saves him from rotting in the darkness of ignorance in this material world is a true guru.
See, very clearly, Prabhupada explains that what is the function of a spiritual master. Like yesterday, we were discussing that spiritual master is not this, spiritual master is not that. Why we are saying all this? Because very clearly it is said that a spiritual master has a very specific duty. And what is his duty? His duty is to actually deliver the soul from ignorance. And if you don't want to come out of ignorance, you don't have any business with the spiritual master. You don't have any business with the spiritual master. You don't want to, the spiritual master is not there to expand the ignorance of the material world. Tasmad gurum prabhatyate jigyatu shreya uttamam sabde pare nishnatam brahmani upasamashreyam. Very nice sloka in Bhagavatam. Tasmad gurum prabhatyante jigyasu shreya uttam. Tasmad, therefore. Why therefore? Previously, there is so many things are explained that how every attempt in this material world has failed. Whether it is to enjoy in the earthly planet, or whether to enjoy in the heavenly planet, or whether to enjoy in the planets above the heavenly planet, or whether to enjoy in Brahmaloka, or whether to enjoy in the lower planetary systems. Every attempt has failed. Therefore, one should approach a spiritual master and become Jigyasu. One should actually ask. What one should ask? Shreyaha, one should ask about one's welfare. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Am I asking spiritual master what business I can do so that I can make double the profit? That's what I'm doing. Why are you disturbing me? Why are you telling me that I should not ask the spiritual master that what business I should make? He's a sadhu. He can tell me what business I should make, and I can make double the profit, triple the profit. Why can't I ask the spiritual master why, how to increase my profit? No, sir. Jigyashu Shreya Uttamam. Uttamam. Uttamam means that which is beyond ignorance. That is what we are meant to ask the spiritual master. Meant to ask the spiritual master about the regions that are beyond the region of ignorance. Matters which are beyond the region of understanding of ignorance. So that's why it's clear that what we should do and what we should not do. Okay, please read.
When the word Mahapurusha refers to advanced devotees and also to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maha means the Supreme and Purusha means person. One who always engages in the service of the Supreme Lord is called Mahapurusha, Mahapaurashika. When Angira Rishi and Narad saw that Maharaj Chitraketu, an advanced devotee, had fallen in the darkness of ignorance and was lamenting for the material body of his son, by their causeless mercy, they came to advise him so that he could be saved from this ignorance.
So that's what it is, ultimately. Spreading Krishna consciousness is simply becoming the agency of the causeless mercy. That's what it is. Okay.
For a devotee, an advanced self-realized soul, there is no cause for material jubilation or lamentation. He is always transcendental to conditional life.
That's what we should try to be. Momentarily, we may be taken away. Momentarily, by the circumstance, we may be carried away because we are not that mature in Krishna consciousness. But after being carried away, after reacting in a certain way, we should actually contemplate very carefully that why did I react this way? What is the problem? Can I not react in a different way? Can I not moderate my reaction in a certain way? We should very carefully, we should contemplate on this point. And then we should try to come out of that momentary disturbance, or that momentary reaction. We should try to come out of it by praying to Krishna, by sincerely submitting our prayers to the Lotus of the spiritual master, to Krishna, by taking advantage of the Sangha, of Vaishnavas. We should try to come out of it. And when we practice it constantly, then the practice becomes a habit. then the practice becomes a habit. So therefore, then that reaction becomes natural. Then we don't have to. Then we may not even fall victim to that urge to react, to give some knee-jerk reaction. Then it becomes like a more well thought out or well moderated reaction. Okay, please read.
This verse describes the entanglement of material existence. In material existence, the living entity possesses many things. In spite of all these possessions, the spirit soul has to give up his present situation and accept another. A sane man should be perfectly aware that these things will never be able to give him happiness.
It's a very important thing, like what Chitraketu went through. But we previously explained that Chitraketu had everything but sun. He had everything but sun. And his life was so miserable because he had everything but sun. And he was looking for that one thing which he did not have. And he was making his life miserable. Now he had sun. Now that sun itself has become such a big reason for misery. So therefore, one should be clearly understand that in the material world, we cannot find happiness through material endeavor or through material arrangement. We cannot find happiness. This was experienced by Arjuna also. He said, "Nahi prapashyami mamanupadyat echoham uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumo asapatnam riddham rajyam suranam abhichadipatyam." Forget all this question of not fighting the war, getting the kingdom without fighting the war, not killing anybody. Forget all these things. Even if all this happens, I cannot come out of this misery because this become like an existential misery for me. That I don't understand what is my duty and what is good for me. So therefore, we should be very careful. We should not think that our happiness is dependent on the ordinary course of activities in the material world. Okay, please read.
Everything material is a mental concoction because it is sometimes visible and sometimes not. At night, when we dream of tigers and snakes, they're not actually present, but we're afraid because they're affected by what we envision in our dreams. We have come to this material world to enjoy material resources, and by mental concoction, we discover many objects of enjoyment because our minds are absorbed in material things. This is why we receive various bodies. Thus, we become more and more involved with material concoctions. This is the reason for our suffering in the material world. By one kind of activity, we create another, and they are all products of our mental concoctions.
See, very nicely Prabhupada explains. The whole fifth canto is simply a demonstration of this, that how this entire 14 planetary system is just a mental concoction. That the different arrangement of enjoyment and suffering exists in the 14 planetary system simply to accommodate our mental concoction. Nothing more. That's why, if you actually see the prayers of the residents of Jambudvipa, they're all giving one message. What is that message? Please practice bhakti, go back home, back to Godhead. Don't come here. Don't come here. Don't come to this deep, that deep, this Palaksha deep, the Krancha deep, that deep. Don't come to any of this deep. Please. Just practice devotional service, go back home, back to Godhead. Very clear message which comes from their prayers to the Supreme Lord, that the position in different planetary systems, different position, different planetary systems, it's just useless. It's useless. So therefore, this whole material creation and our whole situation, our body, our interactions, they're all simply products of material concoction. So Prabhupada writes in third canto in one purport, this whole material creation is a product of false ego and it exists in mental speculation only. Prabhupada writes, very nice sentence. The whole material creation is a product of false ego and exists in mental speculation only. So the process of Krishna consciousness is to break that mental speculation and come out of it. by the sword of transcendental knowledge. Yadad anudyasina yukta karma granthi nibandhanam chindanti. Chindanti. The process involves cutting that illusion. The illusion has to be cut. Chindanti, Kovidastasmai, Kona Kuryat Katharathim. So why they will not, why people are not attracted to Krishna's pastimes or narrations of Krishna? Why? Why? Because they are in illusion. So therefore, so that's the point. To cut the illusion by Krishna consciousness.
Can you please elaborate this statement that everything is existing in mental speculation only?
Yeah, everything exists in mental speculation only because, different people take different positions because of mental speculation, no? A boy is born in the house, like I was born in my house, okay? I was the last child in my house. And everybody told me, oh, you are the last child. So therefore, we have to give so much, love to you, attention to you. It's all mental speculation. Who says that only for last child should get attention? First child also should get attention. But, oh, he's small boy, he's the last child. Okay, give him what you want, give him what he wants. And then, I start thinking, oh, I am last child, so I'm entitled to get whatever I want. It's also mental speculation. I'm entitled to get whatever I want. Yeah. And then, they try to make some plan. Oh, okay, I become. So my mother told me, please become doctor. I told her, oh, no, I don't want to become doctor. She asked me, why you don't want to become doctor? I said, oh, machines don't die, people die. If I repair some man, he will die. But if I repair some machine, it will not die. So better become engineer than doctor. Just repair machine. Don't repair man. I don't want somebody to die because I didn't repair them properly. And she was laughing. She said, okay, do whatever you want. So then I became engineer. Oh, it's all concoction. It's all mental concoction. Oh, I can become engineer. I can go to Dubai. So all my friends went to Dubai. I also thought, oh, if I go to Dubai, I can make a lot of money. So everything is just monovritti. It's just expansion of mind and mental thoughts. Then when I actually went to my college, and then when I studied, and then I saw that there are a whole set of students who are actually aspiring to go to America. And till I went to college, I had not even thought about America. I know that in when you study geography, we know that there's a country called America which exists, and then there's Columbus went to America, there, whatever it is, we know something, we studied about America. That's it. But I never thought that somebody will actually think that the purpose of life will go to America. But when I went to college, I found that there is a group of students. They actually made a group. They all found each other, Sajatiya Sangha. They made, and then they all talk about cat, NEET, TOT, something. That time it was some TOEFL, some CAT, something like that. Exam and all were there. And they will hear some tush-bus English, and they will be doing this, that, and they will talk among themselves, oh, this, that, and so many things they will do. Because these guys are always constantly meditating or thinking about America. I was thinking, what is this guy? Why they are thinking so much about America? Why can't they be in India? So it's all monovritti, mental expansion. If you don't know, then you don't think about it. Like I didn't know about America. I never thought about it. Till I finished my schooling, I didn't even know that institution called IIT exists in India. I only know ITA. ITA means that they will give some training for some welder and cutter and like that. That's what I know. And I was thinking IIT means ITA. That's what I was thinking. I don't know that there's an institution called IIT exists, and some people have to go there and they have to study. And you have to, there's a JEE, and they have to from the LKG you have to study for JEE. I don't know all those things. I just studied. I wanted to become engineer. And then I just wrote some Tamil Nadu exam, and then I became engineer. So the point is, whatever you are aware, to that extent you are able to imagine. And whatever you imagine, that you try to become. And when you become that, you are happy. When you don't become that, you become sad. And that's what you're trying throughout your life. You see, this is all just mental concoction. It's just mental concoction. So therefore, one should break this mental concoction. That's what I was discussing. There's substance, there is shadow. That the existence in the shadow is simply the arrangement of mental concoction. Now somebody knows that, there's Swargaloka and there is Somabana, there is Surabana, there is Ramba, there is Urvasi, there is Menaka, and then you can go and dance with all of them. And then he's thinking, oh, this is very nice. Why should I, dance in this crowded disco dance floor of this 5-star hotel and, get intoxicated with some drink which is so bitter? Why should I do all that? I better go and dance with Ramba, Urvasi, Menaka, and then intoxicated mode of goodness. I can get intoxicated. What is the nonsense mode of ignorance, intoxication? So he's thinking, well, okay, I will go. I will go there. I will dance and I will drink. So the concept is drinking and dancing. But because this guy knows some higher quality drinking and dancing, so he's thinking, I will go there, I will drink that and I will dance. For that, I have to do some austerity now. I will do this austerity, I will go and drink and dance there. So this is the point, that you become aware of something, and that is processed by the mind in terms of acceptance and rejection. And then based on that acceptance and rejection, you try to increase your living, your vritti, your living. That's how you are living. You just practically think, this is how you are living. I gave my own example, practical example. That this is how we are living. But when we come in touch with Krishna consciousness, that's when we get the first sense of reality. And the first touch of reality comes from when you hear this, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. That's the first touch of reality which comes. Yes, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. And then you start thinking that, oh, how I am not this body? I'm always suffering because of this body. And I'm always enjoying because of this body. How I am not this body? Like Raghugana, if you remember in the previous chapter, Raghugana asked Jadabharta this question, very, very pertinent question he asked. Hey, you are telling that, the soul has no designation, is all designations belong to body, but what about bodies? Body is reality, man. We're experiencing the reality of body. The soul is experiencing the reality of body. How can you simply discount that? How can you say that there is no meaning in the relationship between the king and the subjects, the master and the disciple, and master and the servant? There's no relation, there's no reality in the relationship. I am master, you are servant, I am supposed to punish you. Is it not reality? How can you say that it's not reality? Then Jadabharata answers him. He is saying that, there is the substance, the shadow, and within the shadow, you have to act in knowledge of the substance. If you don't act in knowledge of the substance within the shadow, you're simply part of the shadow. Very beautiful explanation, Jadabharata. Of course, you went through all those things. Very beautiful explanation Jadabharata gives. So, and then he explains the forest of mental existence. So, therefore, if we actually see our activities prior to coming to Krishna consciousness, you will simply find that we have expanded our activities to the extent of our mental speculation. That's what it is. Make sense?
Yeah, yes, Projit, is clear. But at the same time, when we say that everything is just a result of our mental speculation, we also believe, I'm just clarifying, we also believe that nothing is false, everything is real, but it is temporary. Otherwise, we are not different from Mayavadi concepts. Correct?
Correct, yeah. What did you say? The last part I didn't listen.
Means Mayavadis also tell that everything is false. We also are saying that everything is result of
No. That different from Mayavadis. Mayavadis is saying that everything doesn't exist. They're saying Jagat Mithya. See, they are saying the existence is not there. They are saying Jagat Mithya, but we are not saying that the existence is not there. We are saying the existence is there, but it is temporary. Amrisha. Etra Trisarko Amrisha. Almost factual. In the first sloka of Bhagavatam, it is said, Tejo Varimritam Yata Vinimayo Etra Trisarko Amrisha. That is the nature of this world. It is almost factual. Why it is almost factual? Because there is a factual world, Satyam Param. That is factual. That's not Amrisha. That's factual. The Satyam Param.
When you say mental speculation, we should understand it is temporary, not permanent, right?
Yeah, it is
Imagination.
temporary, but real.
Mhm.
Like by mental speculation, you will not be able to come out of the situation. That's what Mayavadis are thinking. We came into the situation by mental speculation. We'll come out of the situation also by mental speculation. That's not possible. You will not be able to come out of the situation by mental speculation. You can try it. I want it paneer. I want it paneer. I want it paneer. I want it paneer. Because I am Brahman, so I want it paneer. I am Brahman, so I want it paneer. Try it. I am Brahman. I want it paneer. Then after some time, we'll start thinking, I am paneer. I am not Brahman. Just let me go and eat paneer. So that is the problem with Mayavadis. Mayavadis are thinking that they entered this by mental speculation, by chance, and they can come out of it by mental speculation. That's not possible. Without Krishna consciousness, if we try to simply negate this material world and come out of it by mental speculation, it is not possible. That's why even Mayavadis, they study big Vedanta, and then they do so many, the research of Vedanta and all that. And they say, oh, we are not this body. This body is like a balloon which is filled with air. This is like is false. It's just a balloon which is filled with air. All these things, the big philosophy, they speak. And finally, what they do, they come and open hospital, they come and open school, and then they come and open Anath ashram. Are you rejected this body? Why are you serving this body? Oh, what to do? I can't serve God, so I have to serve this body. So this is the result of mental speculation. So that's the difference between the Vaishnava philosophers and the Mayavadi philosophers. The Vaishnava philosophers accept the substance as that supreme person and his abode, which is full of variety and variegatedness. And they accept that the manifestation of his external energy as a temporary reality. They accept both. But Mayavadis are thinking, oh, there's no person, there's no supreme, there's no variety, there's no variegatedness. It's all false, variety is false, variegatedness is false. So what is true? Truth cannot be explained. That is true. That is true. That's Brahman. That cannot be explained beyond explanation. So that's true. Okay. Try it. Right. But they fail. They themselves fail because they can't, because they have a body and they have to deal with the body. Either they commit suicide and become ghost or deal with the body. And they don't want to commit suicide. So they have to deal with the body. And they cannot deal with the body proper way because they have rejected the proper way. So they have to deal with the body through mental speculation only. That's the difference between Mayavadis and us. Is that clear?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, you said that what the duty or the dharma of the mind is to imagine. So therefore, whatever we try to imagine, we try to become that. So before coming to Krishna consciousness, we were thinking that, like as you said, going to America or having a lot of money was the ultimate thing which we knew. So therefore, we were trying to become that. But now, after coming to Krishna consciousness, we have come to know that above Svargaloka, which was the limit, now there is Golok Vrindavan. So we have we have come to the new realm of imagination, or a new realm is there, which is there. But that is real thing.
That's not imagination. We are not come to the realm of your imagination. It's that, we are imagining that there is Krishna, there is Radharani, and then it's nice imagination that there is Krishna and there is Radharani, and I will enter into the pastime of Krishna and Radharani. It is nice imagination. We are not thinking like that.
So that's real, Prabhuji. That is real. That there is Golok Vrindavan and there are things which are spiritual. So, but the dharma of the mind is to imagine. So in this way, when we become Krishna consciousness, then this same mind which is now trapping us in imagination and into imaginary world, this same mind, when it is given information about Krishna consciousness and it has faith, means the soul is accepting it, and the same mind with its manodharma will help us to progress in Krishna consciousness.
Correct, but that mind should not be used for imagination. That mind should be used for simply acceptance and rejections based on Krishna consciousness.
I suppose
it's no longer used for imagination. It's used for contemplation and acceptance and rejection, which is based on absolute reality.
So
So
because we
in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Uddharet Atmanatmanam, Natmanam Avasadayet, Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhur, Atmaiva Ripratmanaha. One should deliver himself with the help of his mind, not degrade himself. That's why Krishna says.
So therefore, if you're using the mind for thinking about spiritual world, then that is contemplation. But if you use the
That
mind,
also should be, that contemplation should be based on a certain explanation of reality. It's not that, contemplation is just, your own contemplation.
means on Shastra, Bhaji.
Yeah, that is very important. See, there is contemplation in the material platform also. There's contemplation in Krishna consciousness also. Okay. But the contemplation is Krishna consciousness is based on guidance of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is not telling you that you sit and chant Hare Krishna thinking of Ashtakali Leela. The spiritual master is simply telling you that you sit and chant Hare Krishna and try to hear the mantra.
Yes, Bhaji.
Have you ever heard one lecture where Prabhupada is saying that you sit and chant Hare Krishna and meditate on Ashtakali Leela?
No.
You won't hear any lecture like that. Prabhupada is saying you chant Hare Krishna and try to hear what you're chanting. And Prabhupada is saying that the chanting will reveal the name, the form, the pastime, and the confidence, everything that the holy name will reveal. You patiently wait till the holy name reveals everything. And in the meantime, you take your book bag, you conduct classes, you preach, you do this, you do that. There's a whole program which Krishna Prabhupada has given. So apply your mind into that program, that tomorrow morning I should get up to Mangalarti, I should go there, I should see Krishna, I should come back, and then I have this preaching program, I have that preaching program, I have to go there to distribute some books, I have to do this, I have to do that. Apply your mind in that contemplation of the instruction of the spiritual master.
So that's why means if we apply our mind for contemplation based on Shastra or what spiritual master is saying, then that contemplation will be like true contemplation.
Correct.
And if the same contemplation, even if it is in spiritual realm, but if you are not doing it as per Shastra or spiritual master, then that can be imagination only.
It's again mental speculation.
Mental speculation.
For example, I can think that I'm such a big devotee. I can give class to so many people. They all listen to my class, and then I am like a big advanced personality. So wherever I go, people give me garland and they fall at my feet. I already become Uttamadhikari, and maybe I am Premi Bhakta. Maybe already I am in Prema. Something like that. If I think this also mental only, but this mental has no reality. Even though it resembles a Krishna conscious reality, but still it is not reality. It is just Maya which has a Krishna conscious coating.
That's right.
So therefore, one should be careful not to become victim of mind even within Krishna consciousness.
So therefore, you have to discriminate by reading Shastra and discussing.
Therefore, the importance of the spiritual master and the instruction of the spiritual master. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Kuriya Aikya. Arana Korihomone Asa. This is what we are singing every day. That the order of the spiritual master, this should be ingrained in the consciousness. And there should be no other contemplation, or there should be no other expectation or hope. So that's what we should.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, I've been listening to your class. I'm not feeling too well. I'm having very high fever, but I'm still listening. So I had one question where we are saying that when devotees come into Krishna consciousness and they're spending a substantial amount of time in Krishna consciousness, there are some devotees who still go into depression, and I'm just wondering, but what is the reason why devotees go into a depression, and what is this depression? Because I have not experienced depression anytime as such, but they go into a high depression state for 1.5 months, 2 months. They go into that depression state, and I would like to understand that spending 10 years substantially in Krishna consciousness, doing so much of preaching work, doing so much of book distribution, how is it that somebody goes into depression state? And what is that depression state, Prabhu?
So Prabhupada said that one should not be surprised by how many people get into trouble or some people leave Krishna consciousness. He said that you should be surprised by how many people who stay. Yeah. So why Prabhupada says like this is because it's not so easy to fight against Maya. Maya is like the fight with Maya is quite tough. Okay. So some people are able to do it, some people are not able to do it. Okay. So it's natural because it depends on one's own conviction in Krishna consciousness. It depends upon one's foundation in Krishna consciousness. It depends upon one's faith in the Acharya, the words of the Acharya. It depends upon a few factors. Okay. And one's quality of sadhana, one's attachment to the holy name. It depends upon different factors. Okay. Like if something is in this combination, if something is lacking, then there is a possibility that somebody can become victim of Maya. And then nobody should think that I will not become victim of Maya. Prabhupada said that the problem he has with disciples is that they are not sufficiently afraid of Maya. And there's also Prabhupada's pastime where he said, I will never fall into Maya. Then Prabhupada is going and praying to the deities. And then Prabhupada disciple asked him, why are you praying to the deities? What are you praying to the deities? Prabhupada said that I just told that I will not fall into Maya. I'm asking Krishna to make it real, make it truth. I don't want to fall into Maya. So the point is that Maya is quite strong. Krishna says, Devihi Yashagunamayi Mama Maya Durateya. Krishna says Maya is very strong. So there is possibility or there is an expectation that people could, that sadhakas could actually fall victim to Maya. There's a possibility or expectation. And we should not be surprised by it, that they are falling into Maya. Because we are actually still working our way forward, and we are doing kind of things. And sometimes it's commonly seen, sometimes it's commonly seen among devotees that devotees give too much importance to mind. To some extent, devotees understand that they are not this physical body. So when something happens to this physical body, they have a certain level of tolerance to that. Like, somebody falls sick or something happens to the body, or some pain is there, or some functioning of the body is temporarily not able to happen, etc. They understand, okay, I'm not this body, I should be able to still chant Hare Krishna, I should be able to, push myself in Krishna consciousness, etc. They try to push themselves. But devotees sometimes fail to understand that they are not their mind also. I'm not this body includes, I'm not the subtle body, I'm not the gross body. So therefore, the demands of the mind, the devotees actually identify with the demands of the mind as their own demands. This is where the problem starts. This is where the problem starts. And that's why, yesterday also that question was there, and today morning I gave a long answer to the question that why can't I get married for emotional support? Okay, why should I have children? It's simply identification with the mind that makes a person to think like that. So therefore, when this identification with the mind is very, very strong, even within Krishna consciousness, then as long as everything happening around you is pleasing to the mind, then you are very enthusiastic. The moment the things happening around you is not pleasing to the mind, then you start losing enthusiasm, then you start blaming people, then you start withdrawing from the association of devotees, then you start finding fault with the devotees, and then, the Krishna consciousness becomes such a drag, it becomes such a trouble. You don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you don't want to engage in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes I have heard devotees saying that I hate Krishna consciousness. Why would you hate Krishna consciousness? But they're saying that I hate, and for them it is a reality that they are actually hating Krishna consciousness. They themselves came into Krishna consciousness, they came into Krishna conscious practice, but because they are so much attached to their mind, their mental platform, so therefore it's very difficult for them to accept what is happening to them in Krishna consciousness. Very difficult for them to accept it. So therefore, they are unable to operate. Then they lose their ability to operate even in the normal circumstances also. Normally, what a materialistic person would operate, they lose their ability to operate that also. they become so recluse, they become so this thing, that thing, they're always morose, they're never happy, they don't want to talk to anyone, and they have, they develop sometimes even suicidal thoughts and things like that. So this is what happens when one gets too much attached to mind and the comforts of the mind. So then to pull them out is also a task, because whatever you tell them, their mind will tell them the opposite. And then they are so trained to listen to their mind, and they have accepted the existence of their mind as the only reality which exists. So these are very dangerous situations. And when in those situations, they become very morose. Sometimes they go into depression. Then you have to clinically treat them, because there's no other way. You have to give them some chemicals to stimulate their mind in a certain way, and then try to bring them out of that situation, and try to create a support system for them to survive and appreciate Krishna consciousness. And the whole set of things need to be done. But the main problem is, see, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, very early, Krishna gives that warning. In second chapter itself, Krishna gives that warning. In 2.72, Krishna says, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti advat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve shashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Very clearly, Krishna explains that don't run behind the mind, my dear. Don't become a kama kami. Don't try to satisfy all the demands of the mind. If you try to do that, you are going to lose your peace. Very clearly, Krishna says. Somebody is ringing the bell. Please give me a minute. Come back.
Some guest has come.
Again, third chapter, Krishna says that Evam buddhe param buddhva samstapyatmanam atmana jahi shutru mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. Says, please control this mind with the help of Krishna conscious intelligence. Don't let the mind wander here and there. Again, Krishna says in fifth chapter that yahi samsvasaja bhoga dukkha yone evate adyantavanta kaunteya na teshuramate buddhaha. Don't take pleasure in the pleasures of the mind. You'll become miserable. Again, in the sixth chapter, Krishna says, Sanchalam hi manada Krishna, pramati balavadridam, tasyaham nigraham manye. When he says that, Krishna says that, abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena vidyate. So, you find consistently Krishna talking about the importance of controlling the mind and not identifying with the mind. Consistently, Krishna talks about it. And in the so then Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad aji mam namaskuru. Mayyeva manadasva, Mayi buddhim nivesaya, Nivashishyati mayyeva, Ata urdhvam na samshayaha. So Krishna is saying that one side Krishna is saying control the mind, don't allow it to wander according to the way it wants. Other side Krishna is saying apply mind in me, apply mind in me, apply mind in me. So that is the process of sadhana bhakti. So when we take up the process per se, but when we actually don't consciously do it, that's why it's International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When you don't consciously do it, then there's a good chance that any one of us can become victim of the mind. A good chance. Therefore, we should be careful. We should always be alert. Like Rishabhadev says, no, like you read, no, Rishabhadev, that I think last canto said that Parishit is very fascinated by how Rishabhadev acts. Parishit is asking Shukadeva Goswami the question, hey, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the point rejecting these Ashtasiddhis for him? Why should he reject the Ashtasiddhis? What is the problem? Why does he reject Ashtasiddhis? Why can't he accept the Ashtasiddhis and do something with it? He is Supreme Personality of Godhead. No. Why you should do it? Then Sukadeva Goswami gives him an answer. He says that, see, mind is like a prostitute and mind should never be trusted. And then he also gives another analogy that when a hunter, he captures a wild animal and then he tames it, he never trusts that wild animal. Never ever he trusts that wild animal. He always keeps it under captivity. So the same thing should be done. So Rishabhadev is actually demonstrating that for our benefit. That my dear person, my dear sir, please, you come to Krishna consciousness, you're trying to apply your mind in Krishna, but don't trust your mind. And Jadapartha goes one more step. He says, disobey the order of the mind. Disobey the order of the mind. Mind tells you go east, you go west. Disobey the order of the mind. So you find very pertinent instructions. Why there's so much discussion? Because it's an important subject. That's why there is so much discussion. The other day,
you are saying that when we actually obey a superior instruction, that's where the mind is under control. Like when we say that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitate Koriya. So because our mind is below the intelligence, and actually, sorry, our mind is above the intelligence, and the spiritual master's intelligence is above the mind. So he can actually see a proper overview where we are lacking, where we are, what are our weaknesses and all, and he can rightly actually guide us that see, this is how you should be going. And as you said that we should never trust the mind. Like the mind is like a monkey, or you should beat it with a broom and with chappals morning and evening. So this is what. So I was just trying to understand that if somebody is not in the realm of the association of devotees, that's where the problem starts. If somebody is isolated himself, or somebody does not even have some superior guidance, that is where this person actually drifts away or goes into this particular state. But
not
as long as I'm in the association of devotees, I'm protected. As long as I'm in the association of devotees, as long as I'm reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all these things, I'm pretty much protected, I feel, Prabhu.
not necessarily. I met one devotee and we had a talk. I was just talking to the devotee and I told the devotee, I don't see you in the temple. The devotee is not in Mayapur. I was traveling to an outside country and I was going to a temple to different places. I met a devotee. The devotee came to, I was assigned to take care of me. So, and then I told this devotee, I don't see you in the temple. So then the devotee said, no, I don't come to temple. I said, why? He said, whenever I come to temple, then devotees they speak so many things and I can't tolerate everything, so I don't come to temple. So it's not that just being association of devotees or just by reading Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, we can be assured that that we will not fall victim of mind. We can fall victim of mind even while doing these things. What is more important is that we should actually appreciate that. That's very important. So that is the difference between a Kanishta Adhikari and a Madhyama Adhikari. A Kanishta Adhikari is also, or people who are below Kanishta Adhikari, they are also in association. A Madhyama Adhikari is also in association. What is the difference between those who are Kanishta Adhikaris and those who are below Kanishta Adhikari and the Madhyama Adhikari? What is the difference? The main difference is the Madhyama Adhikari actually values the association of devotees. He values the association which comes from Bhagavatam, which comes from reading Bhagavad Gita. He values the association. These people are also in association, but they don't value that association. Rather, they're trying to find fault with that association. They're trying to say that, oh, this person is doing this, is not good, this person is doing this, is not good, this person is doing this, is not good. Maybe it is true. But that's not the only thing that person is doing. The person is also doing something good. Why can't you associate with that? When we were in school, we learned one Tamil poetry song. Children learn, like that. They learn that there is bumblebee and there is frog. The frog is in close proximity with the lotus, but the frog has no association with the lotus. The bumblebee lives somewhere, but it knows that the lotus has honey and it comes to drink that honey from the lotus. So therefore, just being in association is not sufficient. One should actually learn to appreciate the value of that association. That's very important. That's very important. One should know that this person who is with me, it is part of my good fortune that this person is with me, and I'm able to be with this person or with this company, and then I'm able to listen something about Krishna. Okay, there is some unis bis always is there. Not everybody is everything is all right. Not everybody is the same way. There's always something is there. But beyond those peripheral differences, one should be able to have genuine appreciation for the association. That's very important. Very important.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
So did we also finish with the mind? Previous devotee asked him question, is satisfied or?
Yes, Prabhuji. With the mind also, Prabhuji. Yes.
No, I was saying that before you, somebody asked a question. We were discussing about the mind.
Yes, Puji.
Yeah. Okay. Please go on, read.
In the fifth canto, 5.5.4, while instructing his sons, Rishabdev said, Asanapi kleshada ashadeha. The body, although temporary, is the cause of all the miseries of material existence. The mind sometimes induces us to think that if we purchase an automobile, we can enjoy the physical elements such as earth, water, air, and fire, combined in the forms of iron, plastic, petrol, and so on. For example, with the material element, the working senses and the knowledge gathering senses, we create a very nice car. And when the car is accidentally smashed in a collision, the mind suffers. And through the mind, the living entity suffers. Because matter is destructible, through the material condition, the living entity suffers.
Yeah, that's what we're discussing. Yahi sanfarshara bhoga dukkha yona yevate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshwaramate dukaha. One time one young man came and told me, this girl, she's always looking at me in the temple. She's so much looking at me, so much looking at me. I don't know what to do with this. I told him that please run away from Mayapur. Go to your original temple. Don't come here till this girl gets married. Don't think about this girl, my dear. Save yourself. He was a brahmachari. I told him, save yourself, run away from this place. Go to your state, go to your temple. Don't stay here. He said, okay. And then he went away. And after 2 months, he came. And I told him, why did you come? He said, no, I cannot forget this girl. And the moment I came, from the day I came, she's looking at me in the temple hall. She's always looking at me. She's always looking at me. I don't know what to do. I told him, hey, don't do this. You're brahmachari. You're not fit for grahastha life. Go. Don't do this. He said, no, Prabhuji, I can't go. I'm always thinking about this girl. I'm going to ask my spiritual master that whether I can get married to this girl. And then I said, okay, now what to do? Go. So he went and asked his spiritual master, can I get married to this girl? Then his spiritual master told him, hey, remain brahmachari, don't get married. Then he told his spiritual master, no, I'm always thinking about her. I cannot remain brahmachari. I have to get married to her. She's always looking at me. Then, of course, they got married. So 2 days after marriage, he's coming to me and then he's crying, Prabhuji, I was thinking she's always looking at me, but this girl is a little bit disturbed. So that's why she was always looking at me. I thought that, this girl likes me, so she's always looking at me. But I found out this girl is a little bit disturbed mentally, so that's why she's always looking at me. I told 25 years, man, you tell me anything about this girl and tell mentally disturbed, physically disturbed, whatever, I'll break your leg. 10 times I told you, don't get married to this girl. Now you got married to her, live with her for 25 years. No more complaint. After 25 years, you take vanaprastha. Don't complain. Don't ever dare to complain. Live with this girl. You went behind her, you live with her. Of course, a very nice boy. Huh? Very, very nice boy. He said, Prabhuji, I will do that. And then he went. He's living with his wife. He did so many things. Now he has a daughter. And then he comes to Mayapur. Then he told me, Prabhuji, my daughter, she's so affectionate to me. She's speaking to me like this, she's speaking to me like that. I said, this is what is illusion. This is what is illusion. With your wife, you're telling, my life has become miserable now. When daughter comes, you say, my life has become swarga. She's doing like this, she's doing like that. And she's like 2 years old. This guy is telling Prabhuji, she will get married and go away. What I will do? I take, man, after 25 years, you take vanaprastha. This is what I told you. When your daughter is 18, get her married. And take vanaprastha. So, it's very strong. Very, very strong. The identification with matter and the identification with the enjoyment which matter can provide is very, 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 very strong. Therefore, one should be very careful.
The Krishna consciousness movement.
Yeah, please read.
The Krishna consciousness movement is actually endeavoring to bring human society to a sober condition.
Yeah, we should become sober. Huh? This is the most important thing. Krishna consciousness, first, dhira satrana mushyati, become sober. We should become sober. We should not get carried away either by material concoction or by our own mental speculation in Krishna consciousness. We should not get carried away by both. We should neither get carried away by the bodily conception, nor should we get very puffed up saying that, I become very advanced devotee, now I know Krishna consciousness, I finished Bhakti Shastra, I finished Bhakti Vaibhav, I finished Bhakti Vedanta, I have all certificates in my cupboard and I am like a big man, I know Shastra, I know more than 500 slokas, I can just quote them like this, like this, like this, I can quote them. Now I become some big man, nothing will happen to me. Neither this side, nor that side. One should remain sober. Sober means that one should always remain humble. One should always accept that I cannot do anything on my own. I am dependent on Krishna. I am dependent on my spiritual master. And whatever I am able to do is simply because of Krishna's mercy and my spiritual master's mercy. One should always look up to Krishna and look up to spiritual master and keep praying for that mercy. That's what, in second canto you saw that Brahma is saying to the Lord, and even third canto also is there. Brahma is saying to the Lord, please help me so that I don't become proud in the matter of creation. I don't become proud in the matter of creation. Sometimes devotees, we see that devotees become proud. They come to Krishna consciousness, they take up Krishna consciousness, they practice nicely. But along with that practice, they also become proud. And that pride is not good. That's not good, because that is like a stumbling block on our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So one should remain sober. One should remain sober. One should be in touch with reality. One should remain sober. Okay, please continue.
Because of a misdirected civilization, people are jumping in materialistic life like cats and dogs, performing all sorts of abominable, sinful actions and becoming increasingly entangled. The Krishna consciousness movement includes self-realization because one is first directed by Lord Krishna to understand that one is not the body but the owner of the body. When one understands this simple fact, he can direct himself towards the goal of life. Because people are not educated in terms of the goal of life, they're working like madmen and becoming more and more attached to the material atmosphere. The misguided man accepts the material condition as everlasting. One must give up his faith in material things and give up attachment for them. Then one will be sober and peaceful.
See, very beautiful, nice purport. Prabhupada says that, one must give up the faith on material things, and one must give up the attachment for them. And it could manifest in different ways in Krishna consciousness. Even within Krishna consciousness, these things can manifest in different ways. The faith in material things, or the attachment for them, manifest in very many different ways. Some people may think that unless I have this kind of environment, I will not be able to practice Krishna consciousness. Or some people may think that those people in a certain background, they are more qualified to practice Krishna consciousness than some other people in some other background. Many kind of things people can think. These are all different types of mental attachments which is there within Krishna consciousness. So one should be very sober, one should be very peaceful. Recently I gave a class in Mayapur about second canto 2.9.1, and then that class became like a big discussion, and people are chastising me left, right and center. And then there's some big email chain happened because of that class, and some emails going up and down between that. Then finally it became like a discussion between somehow the email thread was also marked to Radhesham Prabhu, and Radhesham Prabhu was one of the receivers of that thread. And then Radhesham Prabhu started. I don't generally participate in such discussions. I'm like a very simple guy. I don't get into very complicated discussions. I know my limitations and I know what I can do and what I cannot do. So I just kept out of the whole discussion, even though the whole discussion started with a very simple statement which I made in the Bhagavatam class, that I am happy with the GBC paper on Jiva's position. This is what is the statement I made. So that became like a big thread, and even now that thread is running with the same subject, that I am happy with the GBC paper on the Jiva's position. Again, and then the thread started with the question, is GBC the authority on Jiva fall down theory? It started with this, and then whole discussion is happening. And then some devotees are saying that the GBC paper is wrong, and Radhesham Prabhu is actually writing back to them saying that how GBC paper is correct, and whole interaction is happening. And it's like a series of emails, which is like, I think more than now, maybe 20-30 emails going up and down. But the most attractive part for me in that email is not the subject matter which is being discussed. I am least interested in the subject matter, because Prabhupada says very, very clearly it is not very important. How Jiva fell down, what is the history of it is not very important. Prabhupada says very clearly, says it's not very important. You should simply focus on going back. That's it. That is my position on this. Okay. There was some controversy. GBC wrote some paper. The controversy was closed. I'm happy with it. So, but the most attractive part of that whole exchange is Radhesham Prabhu's attitude in dealing with the arrogance of people who are actually writing. That's the most attractive part. So I don't read the entire email. I just read the concluding part because that's where these kind of things happens. You know, I just read the concluding part. The concluding part where like someone is vehemently attacking Radhesham Prabhu, and the most humble position he takes against a vehement attack. While the philosophy part, he is equally explaining to them that they are saying something, he is saying something, they are saying something, he is saying something. There's a whole philosophical discussion is going on. But in the end of the philosophical discussion, there is some very vehement attack on him. And every time he replies to that attack, he is so humble in replying to that attack. He sometimes he says, I'm a toddler in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he says, I'm a neophyte devotee. Sometimes he's apologizing to them, saying that, oh, you have reacted very strongly. I'm sorry for making you react so strongly like this. Maybe what I wrote has hurt you. I'm apologizing for that. So grounded in his reaction against a very provocating situation. Okay. But at the same time, he is also responding to them. Like my reaction to this is, go jump in Ganga. That's it. This is my reaction to it. Okay. That you want whatever you write, whatever you want to write. I have my way of saying things. If you have a problem, go jump in Ganga. That's it. My reaction is very simple. But the way he is reacting is just such a lesson for me, that how to remain humble in front of a very aggressive adversary, but at the same time hold your position. I know how to hold my position, but I don't know how to be humble. So this is like a lesson for me. I'm learning that how to be humble at the same time and then hold your position. So I always read the last part of the email threads, especially when Radhesham Prabhu replies. I read the last part, what he has written. These guys are writing like what he's writing. And not once did I see a tinge of arrogance in his reply. There is, if you actually don't know about him, you will not be able to make out that he's a successful preacher. He's inspired thousands of youth. He's like a very intelligent person. He's like, very knowledgeable in Krishna consciousness. He's like a walking Bhagavatam. You'll not be able to make out all these things where the way he actually faces that criticism. Will not be able to make. Not once he has said that, I have so many followers, I know so many things in Bhagavad. Not once, not a hint of it. And if you don't know him, just by reading what he's writing, you will be able to make out that he's done his research very well, but you will not be able to make out that he is the Radhesham Prabhu. You will not be able to make out that. So it's very pertinent what Prabhupada is saying here, that one should be sober and peaceful in Krishna consciousness. One should be sober and peaceful. And one should not be disturbed by the arrogance of the opposing elements. Very nice, very nice. Very nice. Some of the whole email thread started because of the class which I gave, but it ended up being a big discussion between these 3-4 devotees. Anyway, they are all very scholarly, so I have got nothing to do with it. So then Sage Narada says that, my dear king, attentively receive this mantra from me, which is most auspicious. After accepting it from me, in 7 nights you will be able to see the Lord face to face. My dear king, in the former days, Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of lotus feet of Lord Sankarsana. Thus they immediately got freed from the illusion of duality and achieved the unequaled and unsurpassed glories of spiritual life. You will very soon attain the same position. So this is very important, the blessings of the devotees. So this is Chitraketu's good fortune, that he actually got the blessings of Narad Muni, and he was able to execute his devotional service with the blessings of Narad Muni. So that's very, very important, that the blessings of pure devotees is very important. And we should always look and seek for those blessings. And when they're there, so we should utilize the opportunity to get their blessings and their good wishes and instructions from them. So there are 2 parts of the blessings, and both parts of the blessings are equally important. One part of the blessing is the instruction. Okay, so they have given some instruction to Chitraketu. That's what we saw. These things are what we saw. Now then there are good wishes, and they are also part of the blessings. So here, this Narada Muni's good wishes. The Narada Muni is saying you will be able to attain the very same position soon. So sometimes we will find that Prabhupada also expresses some such good wishes towards us. Like, Prabhupada says that every devotee can have the same position as Dhruva, and they can meet the Supreme Lord face to face. Or Prabhupada says that every devotee can be like Uddhava, and they can become like confidential messenger of the Lord. Or Prabhupada sometimes says, every devotee can be like Brahma, and they can shake hands with the Lord. And Prabhupada sometimes he says that every devotee can be like Narada, and he can actually interact with the Lord. So sometimes Prabhupada says these kind of things. So these are his good wishes which are offered to us as his followers. So we should accept those good wishes with gratitude. We should understand that Prabhupada's good wishes is there with us. He has expressed those things in his purport. Like Vyasadeva is saying, Bhuharaho Rasika Bhuibhavakaha. So he is giving us as his wishes that you become a Rasika Bhakta. You relish Bhagavatam, you become Rasika Bhakta. He is giving his wishes. So that goodwill or that good wishes we can retain by following the other blessing, which is their instruction. So there are 2 blessings. One is good wishes, the other one is instructions. So when we try to sincerely attempt to follow those instructions, then that good wishes which comes with those instructions, they also become ours. So, and that becomes our good fortune. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this chapter, which is chapter 15. That is also end of our time. We'll go to new chapter tomorrow. But before that, if you have any questions in chapter 15, we can definitely discuss the questions in chapter 15. Or any comments or any questions if you have, we can definitely discuss that. Otherwise, tomorrow we'll go to chapter 16. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.